Hello and welcome to the official live stream for round 2 of the World Sports Car Challenge on Rfactor2. We've gone north the border to visit the great circuit of Mosport, also known as Canadian Tire, wherever takes your fancy really. It's got many names to go by, and it is cold here today, almost 0 degrees out there on the circuit, so it's going to play a big factor or a crucial part to this race as the teams try to find those heat in those tyres that's going to result in that all-important pace for them to win this race. Thankfully, it will be dry for the day. Just a 6% chance of rain occurring this afternoon, which is much needed good news, as it won't be easy to overtake here on this particular circuit. Once that racing line is occupied, it's extremely hard, especially for our LMP2 colleagues here, to get that move done safely, although there are a few straights available if they want to get the job done. It's fast-paced, it's narrow, and it's multi-class racing. Welcome to Mosport for round 2 of the WSCC. Right now, as you can see, we've got a lot of GT3 traffic going down through towards Sector 2, and they are in their qualifying phase at this moment in time. 34 minutes remaining as we've gone 5 minutes in so far, and that's given us a few times on the board to start off with for this afternoon. So let's go back down to the action on track and see who so far has been able to claim or tame Canadian Tire. In the lead at the moment then, we've got the 97 Aston Martin from Go Team Racing. They obviously had a bit of a moment at Sebring 2 weeks ago, but still a strong result from them. And they are on the board for now with a 113.838. That's enough to secure that all-important pole position so far in this class. Close behind is the 52 car. That's World of Sim Racing. They had strong pace at Sebring and took pole position there. But so far, they've still got to find that extra 0.2 seconds in order to demote Go Team Racing if they want to keep that running of pole positions going. They're on the board with a 114.091 for the time being, and their teammates are behind with a 114.2, and they've just been demoted by the 86 from Justin Meister. He's securing third place with Reading Game Studios. That's a 114.190. That's just over 0.3 seconds off the pace for pole position. All of them Aston Martin so far, so definitely suiting the faster paced vehicles here in this particular circuit. Let's go down towards Team RSI. They're also in their Aston Martin for this season. The 68 claiming that last top 5 position with a 114.3. That's 0.5 seconds off pole position. And I'm pretty sure they can easily find a few extra tenths here if they can find that bit more pace. But we'll have to wait and see how that goes as they just come across the start-finish line once more. Of course, Canadian Tire is a very short circuit here, just over the 1 minute marker, and that's going to be a really big problem once that traffic starts to flow. Of course, the LMP2s are probably going to be just shy of 1 minute, just over 1 minute kind of times, maybe possibly even a 59, but I think that would be a really tall order for some of the teams here, but we'll have to wait and see in just a few moments time. They've got 12 minutes before they get to go out onto the circuit, and then we'll see the action unfold. Following Daniel Vidamari as he goes down through Sector 2, and what we'll do in a moment's time as well is go on board with one of the GT3s to see what it's like from their perspective to go around the circuit at full pelt. Just while we're waiting for one of the cars to line up, we can tell you that the top 10 places all within 1 second of one another at the moment. We've got 22 of them here so far, 39 cars on grid. And let's go on board with Daniel Vidamari now. So coming down into turn 1 then, you've got this long swooping right hand corner. Come off the gas just for a split second and then run wide. You can use the curbing. Of course, you've got 2 wheels within the white lines at all times. Then it's a blind entry down to what is one of the fastest corners here this afternoon. 5th gear for the Aston Martin, and just carry the speed down the hill and through the apex of the corner. Then it's heavy on the brakes. 3rd gear, and he's actually lost it the rear end quite a bit there. It's not a lot of grip, and it's one of those corners that you have to carry the speed through. It's a very long right-hand corner, and then down swooping again, blind apex and entry here, and you want to be over to the left-hand side and he's actually abandoned that because he was mid-circuit on the entrance to that particular corner, which is not where you want to be. So let's switch over to 97. That's how you want to do it. Stay on the left-hand side, and that sets you up for one of the slowest parts of the course here, and that is coming up to 5A and B, which is Moss Corner. Then power down down towards Mario Andretti straight away, and then this is where you get to have your little breather before it all happens again, and you go through turns 8 and 9, which is the S's. Great overtaking opportunity coming up here, so long straight. Use that slipstream as best you can in the race, and then use that excess speed to just allow the car to just decelerate naturally as you go through turns 8 and 9. Hug the apexes as much as you can, and then set yourself up for White's Corner, which is turns 10 across the start-finish line. So he's just gone fastest there, 113.7, which is increasing his lead by about 1/10 of a second there, and that's enough to secure that pole position once again. In the meantime, World of Sim Racing, the 52, has gone faster as well, 113.9, and that's 0.129 seconds off the pace for the time being. 9 minutes left then until they have to all re-enter the pit lane. And we'll see who has the final laugh here in the qualifying phase. So 97 pulling over for another splash and dash. They are allowed to escape on the track as long as they're not impeding anyone's fast lap. That's perfectly allowed. And the 52, World of Sim Racing, coming across the start-finish line now as they go through the apex of turn 10. Is it going to be faster this time by? No, it's not. So, going for one more then. Let's go on board this Aston Martin and see where they're finding all of this extra time. Then to fourth gear, very interesting tactic. Tuck it in nice and tight and just accelerate out of the apex. And then down to third gear again. Late apex, markings on the tarmac indicate where you want to be, and then power down underneath the Acura Racing sign, and then turn in late here. It's a lot later than you would expect or feel comfortable with, but that's what you need to do. Down into second gear, use that corner as best you can. Actually hugged in quite nicely there, although whether or not that'll be faster is yet to be seen, because you want to power onto this exit as quickly as possible, carry as much momentum as you can, because that's going to give you that extra few kph that you need by the time you get to the next set of corners. Famous Canadian tyre sign. Looking over to the left for the braking markers, and then late apex again, so carry the speed through. You want to stay onto the right hand side of the exit of turn 8, and that's going to set you up perfectly for turns 9, which he does, and then turn 10 once again, and just powers down the back straight. Is it going to be enough to come across the line in first place though? No, it's not. So it's a 113.969. It's only 6,000 or hundredths of a second off his personal best, but still no improvement there for the World of Sim Racing Junior team. Let's have a look further down the order for you, see what kind of pace we've got elsewhere down the grid. We've got battles going on left, right and centre. So we've got Brick Car driven by Alexis Clapano. He's sitting in 8th place at the moment. That's with a 114.9 on the board. Very respectable team, and especially in the hands of Alexis Clapano as well. He's definitely not a slowpoke and one to keep an eye on in the next few moments come the race. So 3 hours of racing here at Canadian Tire. Sebring was 6 hours. That was 2 weeks ago. And of course, coming to the Christmas time, nobody really wants to be having to go into a long endurance race. So this will be the final race in 2019 for the WSCC, and then it will be coming back with a vengeance for Road Atlanta, 6 hours on the 15th of January. So that's going to be a big one, and that will be the proving grounds once again for the new year, so to speak. But this is going to be an important one. Canadian Tire, 40 cars out here on the grid. It's a tight place. You know, there's not a lot of room to maneuver here. And the track is so short and high speed as well. So this is going to be one to definitely take home for the 2019. It's probably the final race of the year for some of these teams. And they want to go out with a bang. You know, they want to come home with something to shout about and to put on their social media so they can say, okay, we finished on a high here. And it's going to be important for the teams. If anyone wants to look at the results for the season so far, it's being posted now in the chat for you. So click on the links and you can find out where the standings are. For the season standings, click on the PDF file for round 1 Sebring, and you'll be taken to the standings for now. So just a quick overview before we go into the next session of qualifying. Those LMP2s come out where we'll start. So Seawolf Netrace Motorsport, they had a great battle at Sebring 2 weeks ago, and they are sitting in first place with 43 points on the board. Hydra Racing are in second with 40 points, and then Madness Racing with 34, and they're tied at the moment with F1 Bros Racing with the 87 machine. That's the LMP2s. They're also on 34 points as well, so that's going to be a battle you want to keep an eye on. Team Rookie Monsters 30 points, and that is the top 5 for the LMP2s. And we'll touch briefly on the GT3s. It is World of Sim Racing Junior. They came home first on the 3-hour mark and the 6-hour mark 2 weeks ago at Sebring, and they come home with 50 points. And then it's Team RSI that come home second of the best of the rest with 40 points. And then the 86 from Reading Game Studios, they fell back in the second half of the race at Sebring, but they did enough to secure a podium position in the first 3 hours, so they are in third with 38 points on the board. World of Sim Racing Team, the 51 car, is on 28, and the last of the top 5, they're tied with the 22 core team entry on 28 points as well. So a lot to play for here at Canadian Tire before we break for the year, and that's going to be a lot of deciding moves happening as the race goes on. Alex Capano came in to the pit lane. He's going back out once more. Still in 8th place at the moment. His best time is a 1:14.3. Leader is still the 97 for Go Team Racing, 1:13.7. That's the best time on the board so far. Still close behind are the 52 and the 51. And Daniel Vidimari is just shy of 0.2 seconds behind with the 1:14 dead as well, so he's got a bit more time to find, but not a lot. So 0.2 seconds and he can find himself on the front row here this afternoon. Only 3.5 minutes left here. That's a good 2 to 3 laps available for the teams to get those last few moves in. It's all about concentration here. Of course, with the cold temperatures, you've got to look after those tyres, get those temperatures up and running before we go into the race, and that's only when you will get the grip available to put in that lap of life that they need. And Vidimari going down pit lane. And a new fastest lap there from Go Team Racing, so they're continuing to extend their advantage at the moment with a 1:13.7, so it's 700ths of a second off that time. And David Vidimari is just getting out of the way of all of this traffic, so he's going off the track limits. You're trying to let all of these flying cars by. This is just how compact Canadian Tire is. There's just no room to give up or anything. They've just got to get out of the way, make sure they're not impeding on anyone's lap, and away he goes. He's got 2.5 minutes left, which he can easily do for his last lap or his last attempt to get further up that grid. Just going to be tucked behind the slipstream of the McLaren ahead, who duly gets out of the way as well. So that's one of the Bad Wolves Esports Racing McLarens, I believe. And while we're waiting for the qualifying to finish, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Helps us out a lot, gets us exposure, and of course lets us know that you're enjoying what's on screen and the action that's unfolding here today. So then, Daniel Vidimari beginning his last flying lap here this afternoon. His last opportunity to get over the lines. 1 minute and 20 seconds still left. That should be doable. Looking quite tight through the second corner as he comes down the hill towards Sector 2. And through Clayton Corner. Oh, sorry, Quebec Corner, I apologise. And down towards Moss Corner as well. So this is turn 5, one of the hardest braking points at Mosport here this afternoon. Gets it tucked in nicely, and it's all about that exit power. And all he gets onto the grass just ever so slightly, that's going to compromise his top speed by the time he gets down towards the S's. Down 1 gear, 2 gears, keeping it nice and tucked in as he exits turn 8. Now through turn 9, gets over to the left-hand side of the circuit for turns 10, and through the apex he goes across the line. Is it going to be an improvement from his personal best, though? That's the question. It's a 1:14.9, so that is nowhere near as quick as what he was hoping for. And he goes through just in the nick of time to start another flying lap. So this is where we're going to see all of the LMP2 start to line up.
All drivers, GT3 qualifying has now finished. LMP2s may now enter the track. GT3s, please finish the lap you are on.
So that is race control, just confirming that the LMP2 session has now begun. You can see them all flying out of the pit lane now, trying to get that early advantage that's needed. And Go Team Racing improve on that last flying lap that they did there, 1:13.5. So that's a confidence boost for the team going forward into the race, and they will secure the GT3 podium position for the time being. Bearing in mind we still have Daniel Vidamari out on circuit, who's in P4 at the moment. He's just coming down the back straight. He was one of the last people to come across that start-finish line in this flying lap. Is it going to be enough to secure any higher positions? He's got to find 0.5 seconds if he wants to claim pole position, and he's gone wide into turn 8. That's going to not give him a competition, and even now going wide through the exit of turn 9 as well. This is going to cost him a lot of time. I don't see much improvement coming from this particular lap, and it's a 1:14.3. So valiant attempt there from Team RSI, but it is not enough. Returns to the pit lane. Okay, so as does one of the McLarens as well. So here comes all of the LMP2s now through the start-finish line for the first time. Rookie Monsters leading the way in the form of the 56 machine. Now the LMP2 field, for those of you that don't watch us on a regular basis, has been invited back from Season 2 and other CFEG one-off events as well. So we're expecting a very competitive field here for Canadian Tire. We saw it at Sebring. Basically, out of 16 LMP2 teams that are here this afternoon, at least 12 of those were all within a second of each other in the qualifying phase. And in the race, it was spectacular to watch. We had a lead change on a regular basis, or at least a podium change on a regular basis, and you could not predict a thing. So here's hoping that Canadian Tire will provide us the same kind of result, especially since the track is shorter and more fast-paced. It will suit the LMP2s a lot better as opposed to the bumpy surfaces found at Sebring. Oh, and he's gone off. So that is not a good way to start for, I think that was Malcolm Smith. He set a time on the board for the 56, 1:05.7. That's already being pushed down the board as we speak, down into P6 now. And the fastest time is actually from VRC1, which is the number 8 machine, 1:05.193. Back in the pit lane, ready for another run when required. Pim Van Ark, the 57 for Fair Racing team, is sitting there in 3rd place, 0.1 second off the personal best at the moment. He's backing out of this one, waiting for the time to finally put his foot down. So you saw him backing out there on the entrance to turn 9. Can carry a lot more speed through there. But this is going to be his flying lap, I reckon, because he's now back up to racing speed. Fair Racing team, very strong performers here in the WSCC in past seasons. So definitely one to keep an eye on. Going through Sector 2 now, Turn 5, A and B. Oh, we've had an accident there. That's one of the rookie monster machines going off at the exit of the chicane. Let's have a look at the sector times coming from some of these machines then. Pim Van Ark improving. Purple sector in Sector 1 as he comes through to Sector 3. Sector 2, though, is still slightly slower. 25.1 seconds compared to 24.9. And always made a mistake on the exit of Turn 8. So that's the best lap out of there. So he was on track to take pole position there. So he's going to be kicking himself for that particular mistake. On board with VRC1, the number 8 machine. They've got 2 entries here this season. And 105.193 is the time to beat. A lot of the teams are already in pit lane waiting for the right bit of track space to appear before they set those all-important lap times. Marcelo Tocco, the 47 from Seawave Nitros Motorsport, is a 106.240. That's not the kind of pace we would expect from that kind of team. In the meantime, though, the 74, which won at Sebring 2 weeks ago, they're in second place, 105.209. That is 1/1000th of a second off that pole position time, so got to keep an eye out for them. New improvement there from the VRC1 machine, 105.109 on the board. That extends it to just 1/10 of a second for the time being for them. That's their security for now. Oh, a bit of oversteer occurring there for the back of that LMP2 car, and that's cost him a bit of time, so he backs out of that one. Doesn't want any of that nonsense going on. 79 for on-off racing, driven by Nicholas Lemoyne, in 4th place now, 105.308. That's demoted Pim Van Ark into 5th in the 57. He's going out for another run though, so don't expect him to stay in that position for too long. I can tell you, ladies and gents, that for the top 13 teams here, we've got 16 times on the board, and 13 of those times are within 1 second of one another. So it just goes to show how competitive they are. If you want to get closer action than that, then the top 8 cars, or top 9 cars, are all within half a second of one another. So 0.5 seconds, all in lap by lap pace. So that is extremely competitive times from most of the teams in the LMP2 field here this afternoon, and that's going to be great to watch when we go racing in just a few moments time. 12 minutes left in qualifying. That's still at least another 11 laps available for the LMP2 teams. Find that clear bit of track wherever you can and put your foot down to secure those all-important qualifying positions. 57 now in P6 as he comes across the line. Pim Van Ark being overtaken by the 33 of Mantis Rikas from Rookie Monsters. He's on the board with a 105.239. So all of these teams are essentially, top 5 is 0.1 second within that pole position place. Number 7 from Go Team Racing has gone into second place. Maurice Mel with a 105.149. That's 0.04 of a second off the time. This is starting to spice up really nicely. The qualifying sessions here for this season are frankly outstanding. We've never seen anything this close before here at CFEG, and it is great to watch. You never know who's going to come out at the end of this one from pole position, but at the moment it is a VRC1 still. No improvements from their personal best time. It's still 105.1 to beat. And we'll go on board for a split moment, see if we can get them on our screen. Here they are. So we'll try and stay on board for one lap. Of course, being Canadian Tire, it is very quick, so I'll have to be ready to commentate on this particular lap. So on board, coming through turns 9, the S's, and then through white corner, which is turn 10. Hug that apex and get on the power early. You've got the patching from the tarmac. Okay, next flying lap then. Down through turn 1. Hug the inside line, get on the throttle early, use all of that track available, and then straight over to the right-hand side. Carry that speed through. Not much of a lift here for the LMP2s. Use the oversteer slightly there for the VRC1 car, and use again all of the track available. Over to the left-hand side, use the engine to power down as best you can. And he's backing out of this one once again. So why can't we ever get a clear lap here when we are doing these things? Looks like maybe the Go Team Racing car is going to have a go at it. He's warming up his tyres, looking ready to fight. So we'll get a full lap from the number 7 instead, if we can. Setting the car up nicely for that nice run down to start finish. And here we go. That's it. Full power now. Second, third, fourth, and then fifth gear for the first corner. It's all about throttle management here as you try to allow the car to keep that grip. Don't overwork the tyres. Over to the right once again. Come off the accelerator, but not braking required. Carry the speed through, using all the track nicely there. Down into third gear. Let the engine decelerate and carry as much momentum as you can. It's all about using that momentum, keeping the average high speed as much as possible. And then once again, a late turn in for the LMP2s. A lot more aero available, so not as demanding as the GT3 colleagues here, but certainly no easy task either. Heavily braking for 5A and B, gets it nicely turned in, and now powering onto the Andretti straightaway. Stay on the right hand side, shorten that course as much as possible, and then just snip this little outing of grass underneath the Canadian Tire sign and into the S's. Stay mid-circuit and then hug down to the apex when required as soon as that curbing shows up. And then once again these fast-flowing S's corners through white corner turn 10. Oh, he makes a mistake at the end. He's completely ruined the car there, so he must have rode the curb quite aggressively, destroyed the interior rear gearbox and everything, because it went straight into neutral as soon as he went off that circuit. So that was a big off for Go Team Racing. No fastest lap there for them, but they still hold second place for now. Going for another run for the team. 8 minutes left in qualifying, ladies and gents. And the lineup is as follows. So VRC1 still hold the pole position with Go Team Racing very close behind. On-off Racing have also closed the gap to 0.05 of a second with Nicholas Lemoyne behind the wheel of the 79. Team Rookie Monsters are 0.06 of a second off the podium time with Mantis Rikus in the 33. Then Fair Racing Team are 0.08 of a second off the pole position time with Pim Van Ark, and then 1/10 of a second behind is the 74 from Seawolf Netrace Motorsports, our winners from Sebring 2 weeks ago. 0.2 seconds off the pace is the Esports Performance Team, the 66 in 7th place, and then Madness Racing are 0.4 seconds off the time with Mark Veit behind the wheel. We've had a new fastest lap, ladies and gents. That is from the VRC1 machine, once more improving their personal best lap time, 104.928 on the leaderboard. So that extends it to just 0.1 second advantage over Pim Van Ark, who has just gone second fastest for the Fair Racing Team. That's a 105 dead for them, and that promotes them all the way up into second place. But Go Team Racing still in third with a disadvantage of 0.1 second here. So yeah, in the last few minutes of this qualifying session, expect to see a few changes start to emerge as the grip is starting to imprint itself onto the tarmac of Canadian Tire. For those of you that like your Gucci data and all of the race information, we have RaceView up and running for you. So click the link that's just gone into the YouTube and Twitch chat, and you can find out who's taking tyres, who's doing the sector times, and the differences between the battles. Of course, up here in the commentary box, we will try and bring you as much of the action as possible. I'm sure there will be a lot of it. But just in case we don't see anything, you can use that information there. Oh, and the 74 just goes fastest. So Seawolf Netrace Motorsport come out of nowhere all the way from 6th place. It's a 104.8 on the board for Seawolf Netrace, and they have just completely blown away the VRC1 time by at least a whole tenth. And that's a lot of difference in time here at a place like this. Now, how will VRC1 respond? Lovely yellow painted LMP2 machine. Doesn't look like a flying lap at the moment. Let's go on board. Not even lifting the slightest as he comes through turn 1 there. Up to full racing speed. Little lift as he comes through turn 2. Look at the speed he's carrying through the corners here. This is outstanding. Coming up for the sector 1 time. Let's see what's on the board. It is green, 25.2. It's not the personal best from the 74. He's got to make up 0.2 seconds in sector 2 if he's going to make up that difference. In sector 2 he comes. Is it an improvement though? That's the question. It is basically identical. He's got 1/100th of a second advantage over the Seawolf machine, but that's not going to be enough because he's already 0.2 seconds down through sector 1. Coming across the timing line, it is a 104.944, which is just slightly off pace. He needs to find that extra bit more, just that extra push that's required. 3.5 minutes remaining. Can VRC1 come back to reclaim their podium position? They've held it pretty much throughout the qualifying session here so far. Sector 1 once again, 25.186. It's an improvement by 1/10 of a second. Oh, and he's lost the rear coming into 5A and B, and that's the end of that game, unfortunately. In the meantime, the number 7 is occupying 4th place with a 105.084. So they've been completely demoted off those podium positions, but what a performance they've put in as well. Ladies and gents, I can now tell you that the top 9 machines here in the LMP2 class are all within 0.5 tenths of, or half a second of one another in the qualifying times. That is staggering. Then if you go to the entire second, it's still top 14 cars are all within 1 second of qualifying time. So that is amazing. That is spectacular. Our VRC1 going to try one final attempt with 2 minutes remaining here at Mosport qualifying session. He's letting all the other cars by. Getting ready for one final attempt. Got 1 minute and 40 seconds to get back up to racing speed. Of course, times here are at least 104, 105. He's got plenty of time to play with, but it's only going to be one lap available for him. So it's do or die, ladies and gents, here. Warming up those tyres as best he can. Very cold here at Canadian Tire, as already mentioned. It's down to about 0 degrees. Being December, of course. Here he goes. Probably could have carried a bit more speed through there, seeing what the 74 could do. Ooh, bit of a cut there coming over the hill of the apex. That's going to push him wide at the bottom of the hill. Let's see what the lap time says, or the sector times say, though. He's got to beat 25.1. It's 25.104, so it's a slight improvement this time by over Seawolf Netrace Motorsport. Power down onto the back straight. This is where it matters because that exit speed is crucial to the top speed of these LMP2 cars. Coming down to the final sector. What does it say on the sector times? It's a 24.768. Again, a slight improvement, but will the last two corners matter? That's what counts when you come across that finishing line. Will he secure podium position here for VRC1? He has, ladies and gents, coming across the road with a 104.799. Just when it mattered, and it was just by the slither. Ladies and gents, the time between the two cars is 0.003 thousandths of a second between the top LMP2 teams. You could not get any closer than that. You couldn't get any closer than that, and that was the last available lap to anyone here in this qualifying session, and that is enough to bring it home. Still got a few cars out on track at the moment. On-off racing still going for it as well, with Nicholas Lemoyne coming through the apex of turn 8 and 9. Will he get an improvement here? They're currently sitting in P6 with a 105.130. Oh, and he's got a big off. A big off there for Nicholas Lemoyne. That's not going to improve anyone's lap time. And he sadly retires across the qualifying phase as where he started. So P6 there for the 79, and that is it for qualifying, ladies and gents. So what's going to happen now is we're going to go to a 5-minute warm-up phase. But what a qualifying session. I've never seen it that close before. Just when it mattered, just put it all on the table, all cards laid down, and just put everything on the line. That was incredible performance from VRC1, and they will start the LMP2 field here for round 2 of the WSCC. We'll go for a quick commercial break, and we'll be back after these quick adverts. See you in a minute. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to round 2 of the World Sports Car Challenge. We are at Canadian Tire, or also known as Mosport, for the final race of 2019. 39 cars lining up on the grid for you to do battle for this 3-hour race. And we have just come back from the closest qualifying session that I have ever witnessed. So VRC1 claiming that all-important pole position in the LMP2 class, and it was by 3 thousandths of a second between themselves and the Seawolf Netrace Motorsport team in that 74 car. And you know, we were saying earlier as well that the grid for the top 14 cars in LMP2 was so close. And here we have the cars rolling down to the manual rolling start now. So it is a manual rolling start at half speed for the teams. Oh, there's a bit of a lag there. Not too sure what's happening. Right, servers. Well, I think that was my end, to be honest. Maybe someone's uploading something or whatever. But the server's still with us. That's the most important thing. I almost had a heart attack there. But the server's still alive and we're still with it. So anyway, going down the order, VRC1 in the 8 machine claim that pole position, and close behind is the Seawolf Netrace Motorsport. They will line up alongside for the start. Fair Racing team and the 57 line up in third, and for company they've got the Go Team Racing machine in 4th place. Madness Racing line up in third for the number 3, that's with Mark Veit behind the wheel, and then we have On-Off Racing in P6. They're on the 3rd row of the grid. Going down to GT3s, because by the time we get to it, it will be racing conditions. So Go Team Racing secure pole position for the GT3s, and alongside is the World of Sim Racing 51 machine with Daniel Fonte. In 3rd place is the 52 World of Sim Racing Junior car, and in 4th is Danielle Vidamari in the 68 machine. Then we have Colin Sanders in the 5th place, and then Justin Meister in Reading Game Studios Racing. So those are the top 5 in each class for you. Now they have to wait until they get to the start-finish line of this circuit, and then the leader, which of course is the number 8, will take command and then indicate the start of the race. Same goes for the Go Team Racing GT3 car. Once he gets to that designated line, he will start the race for his particular class, and then we will unleash all of this machinery onto the circuit. So final preparations being made inside the cockpit, settings being made, pit stop settings being adjusted and finalised before the 3-hour test begins. Coming through the last apex here at Canadian Tire before they get underway. They again have to wait until they get to the start-finish line, and it is racing. Away goes the LMP2 teams, and here comes the 74 around the outside. The VRC1 defends on the inside racing line. That's where you want to be, and some of the cars getting pushed wide just ever so slightly coming through the apex of turn 2, and VRC1 hold on to that lead. The 74 going slightly wide on the apex, and that's costing him a bit of time. Going back down to the GT3s, they come across the start-finish line now. That's a lot of traffic coming through to the apex of turn 1. Go Team Racing make a good start of it though. Down toward the apex, they claim the racing line nice and early from this starting position, and away they go, all coming over the top of the hill as Balaskis and everyone else goes too wide through the apex as well. In the McLaren from Simco Endurance Team, they're holding on for dear life as well in 7th place further down the order. Go back to the lead of LMP2s though, because here comes that slipstream. The 74 looking eagerly to left and right, but VRC1 blocked the door and wait for that racing line as well. So no moves there, but he was looking for that opportunity early on in this race to take the lead. And of course no slipstream luxuries for the leading VRC car. He's going to have to fight it out and make sure he doesn't leave an open door. In the meantime, the Fair Racing team line up in 3rd, and behind is Moritz Mell in the 7 for Go Team Racing as well. Fastest lap going on in a 1:08.620. The 74 runs wide on the exit of turn 2, and that has allowed the 57, Pim van Ark, looking to strike. But coming through turns 2, they all look evenly spaced between one another, maybe 0.2 seconds between all of them as they make it through the apex of turn 3. And breathe for a second there, as we've got a car in the pit lane, and that is in the form of Mark Veit and Daniel Ersling. So 2 LMP2s already in the pit lane at the moment, presumably with damage and they are out of the running already here. Back to the LMP2 fight. Here comes that slipstream once again down the Andretti straightaway. Not closer this time by though. The 74's got a bit more ground to make up. But here comes the number 7 on Pim van Ark as well. Looking to the right for the apex, but not close enough and too late to make a move down into turns 8. Going through the apex of turn 10 rather, coming across the line. So VRC1 starting to show the pace that they showed in qualifying, but instantly demoted by the 66. So Esports Performance Team showing the pace so far, 106.542, the quickest lap of today's race. And there's Go Team Racing running a bit wide through turn 2 there, lost a bit of ground against the 57, and that's going to bring the 66 into this as well. Let's go back towards the GT3s. We've got a lot of traffic coming through the last final sector here. Won't be long until those LMP2s become a problem for them as well. In the meantime though, Daniel Vidamari in 4th place still, and that's a lot of cars all in tow with one another. It is a train here at Mosport for the time being, as they all try and find that extra few tenths advantage over one another, but that's not going to be easy in these conditions. Going through the corners nicely, no major incidents so far, touching wood. And the Aston Martin's leading the way. They have been balanced to performance as well, so BOP is in effect for those that are wondering, and the BOP actually affected the Aston Martin even more for this round, so even despite having the extra weight on board, they still are the class of the field in some respects. But of course that may change as the race goes on, as those tyres will suffer from the extra weight imposed on the Astons. But we'll have to wait and see. Here comes some of the LMP2s weaving through traffic there. I believe that was one of the cars that was in the pit lane. I think that's Daniel Ersling there. But they're already a lap down compared to the rest of their colleagues. Let's have a look back at our leaders here, already coming onto the Andretti straight. That's going to mean that they're going to be catching up to the GT3s on the next lap, I believe. Through turns 8 he goes. Still has that slight advantage for this moment in time. He's got the fastest lap back with a 106.318. And you can see the GT3 cars just ahead as well. 66 Esports Performance goes fastest again by 1/10 of a second that time by. And here's where the problems are going to arise for our leaders as they try to look past the Audi R8, and it's going to be a very close call between the 57 and the 74, all following one another. 1, 2, 3 LMP2s trying to make sure they don't lose any time in the first round of GT3 traffic, swooping down the left-hand corner towards turn 5 A and B. In he goes through Moss Corner. Nicely navigated there. There was a small moment with that Audi R8. Nearly took one of the Seawolf Netrace Motorsport entries out by the looks of things from that camera angle. But that's how close it is here at Canadian Tyres. A very small optimal racing line and not a lot of room to manoeuvre other than that either. Down the inside of the racing line they go, so they're trying to use that extra downforce they've got available in these cars. SSC Aston Martin gets in the way, and also luckily for the number 8 VRC1 entry, the McLaren interferes with the Seawolf Netrace car as well. But this is going to be pretty much the story for the rest of this race. It's going to be about traffic management here at Canadian Tire, because that's what it comes down to. VRC1 tucking in nicely on the inside of that Porsche from Rookie Monsters, and this is where the experience from some of the teams is going to shine on through as they slit in between these narrow gaps that these GT3s create. And you know, if you're in one of those GT3 cars, you've got to be so aware of what's going on around you. You know, the fact that these cars are all coming through thick and fast. VRC1 going down the inside of that particular apex because he just can't afford to wait at this stage of the race. He doesn't want to lose the lead to Seawolf Netrace Motorsport. They're extremely close on the run down towards Sector 2, and he's going to be using the GT3 traffic. We're going to go 3 wide, ladies and gents. on the run down towards turn 8, and there is a lot of cars still ahead. Too wide for our two leaders here in LMP2. It's going to be VRC one way, Seawolf Netrace the other, and it's going to be VRC1 that lose out. The Aston Martin running wide to avoid any contact with that Seawolf car, and that means that Seawolf Netrace take the lead here at Canadian Tire on lap 5, or lap 7 rather, sorry. So they're going by so quickly now. Pim Van Ark is now in striking distance as well. This is going to be for second place. Finally, the traffic is beginning to ease. Of course, the LMP2s are starting to create gaps in that GT3 field as well, who are all battling for those vital positions that they need. And we're now coming towards the top half, top 10 here in the GT3 class. You've got the McLaren going down the outside line. That's Team RSA Sim Racers. And VRC1 done a good job of slicing that piece of space up nicely. Now back onto the tail of Seawolf Netrace Motorsport, coming down towards the Sector 3. The cockpit is just full of machinery here as he goes by in the slipstream. Going to try and go around the left hand side. There's Daniel Vidamari. He's sitting in 4th place in class at the moment. They're both going to try down the inside, which they do. Daniel Vidamari obviously wise to the situation, letting them both have that track space that they want. Hasn't lost out as a result of that. And then another World of Sim Racing car separating the two LMP2 leaders. This is getting rather intense early on here this afternoon. I mean, with this kind of intensity here at Canadian Tire, it's only going to be a matter of time before something big happens here. The circuit kind of promotes that kind of thing. It's almost like Road Atlanta in a way that it is pretty much one optimal line, and that's it. That's the one you want. So the LMP2s are going to be fighting with everything they've got to obtain that racing line. Of course, the GTEs just trying to get by while fighting for their positions as well. There's battles going on left, right and centre. I can't keep track of everything that's going on. Of course, the GT3 traffic is interfering as well. They've all got battles with each other. And these LMP2s are just trying to get on by as quick as they can. We've got another few cars in pit lane. Got Glenn Beavis in one of the rookie monster cars. That's the 37. He's in pit lane, so some incidents unfolding there. And you've also, I believe I saw the Audi R8 present and stationary as well. Let's go down to Daniel Vidamari. He's got a battle on his hands for that particular position. This is for 3rd place in class. The competition ahead is the 52 from World of Sim Racing. And then you've got the car behind, which is the 11 from Colin Sanders. He's driving for Trax VR Racing there. So it's a 3-way battle for 3rd place going on. The LMP2 is trying to get by. That's the 47 from Seawolf Netrace. Slipstream in effect for the Aston Martin. Use that LMP2 as best he can. He's too wide going into turn 8. Will he have the advantage though? He's got more space off that racing line if he wants to use it, but decides to tuck back behind the Aston ahead. Chat VR Racing looking very competitive as well this round for, as opposed to Sebring. Coming down to turn 1. 0.3 seconds separating these 3 teams in the GT3 class. Got more cars joining in as well. So we've got the LMP2s trying to get through. You've got the number, I think that was the 18 trying to get past. That's the second of the VRC1 entries. And there's a little love tap there. Is he going to hold it in time? Yes, he is. But that's going to cause a bit of a backlash for Daniel Vidamari. Not the position he wanted to be in. He's now lost ground because of that LMP2. And here comes Colin Sanders and the rest of the grid as well. So you've got Colin Sanders followed by Justin Meister for Reading Game Studios. Simco Endurance Team as well in the 43. McLaren trying to find some ground here as well. And it's going to be 3 wide coming into turn 8. Almost 2 wide. Colin Sanders trying to find that space on the outside line. He's still got a slight bit of ground on the back rear bumper of that Aston from Team RSI. He's going to try the undercut. Through turns 10 they go, and still 2 wide at the moment. Ready Game Studios staying close but assessing the situation ahead, not making a move as of yet. And Colin Sanders goes ahead. Bit of a love tap there on the front end of Team RSI 68, but both get through the corner in one piece, just about. Here comes Team RSI though, holding that inside line for turn 2, and they're going to run wide here. And we've had an accident. That is one of the LMP2s. I think that might be... Yes, that's the sister car from VRC1. That's the 18 machine there, going extremely slowly. No rear wing on that car whatsoever. It's going to be a long journey back.
Straight control, code 80 in 10 seconds.
So code 80 has been called as a result of that, so it's a very slow moving car trying to get back to pit lane.
4, 3, 2, 1, code 80 in fourth.
So that's code 80 now, so that means that everyone has to go onto their pit limiters and go slowly until race control says otherwise, most presumably as and when the 18 re-enters the pit lane safely. Oh, he nearly loses it there, so it just goes to show how much downforce that car produces. It's such a light chassis for these prototype machines, and he nearly lost it going in through Moss corner and took out one of the GT3s there. So you just got to be careful coming through some of these corners, otherwise he will end up collecting someone else. Thankfully though, it's not too far to pit lane. Moving back to Daniel Vidamari, because of course he's holding on to that position now. Still P4 for the time being. The 52 going ahead there. And where is that GT car? Or sorry, the LMP2 car. Coming through the last corner now. Or turns 9 now.
All drivers, green flag in 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Green, green, green.
So Daniel Vidamari under pressure now from Colin Sanders. Track VR Racing looking to maximise the opportunities available here. Got some of the LMP2s interfering as well. So the gap between himself and 52 has widened significantly. That's due to battling with Colin Sanders behind and the rest of the GT3 field. So that's going to be a situation he didn't want to be in at this moment in the race. It's a very competitive team. They always want to move forward, but of course defending always will cost you time, unfortunately. So now he's got to put his foot down, prove that Team RSI can find that pace that is crucial to extending the lead over the rest of the GT3 field here. But with such a competitive field, can he do it? That is the vital question. Leaders for LMP2 are within 1 second of one another as well. So VRC1 are now in nice open track space, as is the 74. That's our leading LMP2. And they are 1 second away from each other as well. We'll stay with Daniel Vidamari because it's slightly closer at this end of the paddock. And see if we can get any action unfolding here. Over to the 66, he's in the slipstream of one of the rookie monster machines. That is the 56 of Malcolm Smith at the moment. Very good driver there. And coming through the apex of turn 8 as we speak. So he's gained some ground coming through the corner there. Is he going to be able to undercut through turn 10? Gets a better entry out of white corner and down onto the power, utilising the free space that's available before he inevitably comes across the GT3s once more. 0.2 seconds coming through sector 2. He's going to have a slipstream now as he goes on to the Andretti straightaway. Daniel Vidamari is also in a bit of trouble as well. So Track VR Racing, we've unfortunately missed that overtake. Down into P5 at the moment. Colin Sanders moving up by 1, and that's allowed Velasquez and Justin Meister into the fray. We've also got RSA sim racers as well in the mix. Dylan Tarboton in the 69 machine close behind. That's the McLaren 720S. Australian team actually, both related. I think they're father and son if I'm not mistaken. Very competitive drivers here. And that is 4 GT3 cars, all within 0.1 second one another on the run down towards Sector 3. This is going to be very interesting indeed. Velasquez going too wide with Daniel Vidamari. He might be carrying some damage in that Aston as he comes through the corner. Simco Endurance take that position away. Up into P5 they go. Reading Game Studios looking to take advantage as well. So we've got a wounded soldier on circuit. That's in the form of Daniel Vidamari. Can't seem to find the pace that he needs at this moment in time. He's just got to try and defend as much as possible before the first round of pit stops. That's when he'll want to undertake any essential repairs to find that extra tenth or two in pace, which he's lacking at this moment in time. GT3's just touching that inside line, grass spitting up into the air. Slipstream in effect for Reading Game Studios. Aston Martins battling it out with one another. Team RSI though, definitely a team that's competitive here, know how to defend, know how to attack. And here come the LMP2. So Pim Van Aert going through the traffic along with the Go Team Racing LMP2 entry. They've got one in GT3 and and almost a little twitch back there from Simco Endurance team. Nearly take out Pim Van Aert in that 57. He swoops down to the inside line of turns 2. Nicely done, well read. Obviously had confidence in the car that it would hold that kind of entry speed. Definitely would have been a code brown though for Colin Sanders. I certainly wouldn't have appreciated that kind of manoeuvre. Leading GT3 car has an advantage of around 7 seconds at this stage, so definitely starting to extend their advantage at this moment. And we've got the GT3 pack. This is a fight for P4, starting to bunch back up again. So Colin Sanders is at the head of the pack in 4th place. That's the Aston Martin for Track VR Racing. And Simco Endurance team close behind in the McLaren 720S. Now got all the LMP2s fighting their way through. Now the McLaren definitely has the advantage in the high-speed corners, which is probably why we're seeing a lot of them mixing in with the Aston Martins here this round. They suffered quite severely at Sebring 2 weeks ago, but it looks like that maybe the higher fast-paced Canadian tyre circuit is advantageous to them as Daniel Vidamari comes up too wide. He's alongside for the run down into turn 8. And he's going to make the move go wide, but they're still going to have the inside line for the next corner. That's where you want to be. So Daniel Vidamari going back up the order now into P5, and that's Aston Martin back into position there. So he's got to do a bit more work to catch up to Colin Sanders in the track VR machine ahead. But Simco Endurance still firmly attached to the rear bumper of Team RSI in that 68 though. Reading Game Studios, they're still behind as well, P7 for them. And then we've got Chris Weston in the 96. That's the first of the Brittech machines here that are running. Not too sure what happened to Alexis Klapana. He's down in 23rd place, which is 11th in class. Usually see better from them. I'm sure he'll recover nicely as the race goes on. But we're just coming up now to the first half an hour of this race. Now slipstream in effect once more for Simco Endurance. Seems to stall on that top speed, though he had to back out of it because he saw that LMP2 car behind. That's the 47 from Marcelo Tocco, Seawolf Netrace, and they're currently sitting in 9th place in the LMP2 field. So Chris Weston for Brittech Sim Sports. That's the first of 2 entries here in the WSCC. Currently sitting in P8. And looking ahead, he's got 3 positions within grabbing distance for the time being. Last lap, 116.2. And it's a 115.7 from Justin Meister. So he needs to find a few more attempts if he's to start gaining some ground. But he's in the prime position to do so in the slipstream of that final bit of train. So there's a large gap between him and the next car down. That's Simon Marshall. And then, they're going side by side with Dylan Tarboton. So we've got a 2-wide battle here going. And 69 is actually losing it. Going 180, spinning around on the exit of turn 8. Whether there was contact there or not too sure.
All drivers, this is race control. Code 80 in 10 seconds.
Oh, another code 80. So what's that for then?
Code 80 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Code 80 in 4th.
So now code 80 called again. We don't actually have information as to what has happened there. Oh, there's a bit of carbon on the main drag there. So obviously something has spun and gone into the wall at high speed and caused severe damage. Let's have a look at our leaders. There's a yellow bit of bodywork. And the VRC1 machine is in pit lane. No damage to the car though, which is nice. So clearly whatever has happened, I don't believe that they were involved. Looks like he was maybe off of the accelerator, or on the accelerators just for a moment there, so... So we're now just waiting for the cars to go back up to racing speed. Still no confirmation as to what the incident is.
All drivers, race control. Green flag in 10 seconds.
So going back to racing now.
Green flag in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Green, green, green.
So there's our leader, the 74 from Seawolf Netrace Motorsport, on the back of this long chain of GT3 machines, coming through the corners. It's got quite a large advantage over the VRC1 machine, who's just coming through the apex now. So it's at least 3 to 4 seconds as they try to manage that traffic. Gaining ground though. It seems like there's still a bit of debris on circuit, especially off that racing line there. And we've got one DNF so far, and that's in the form of Tom chasing. Oh, the leader's made a mistake. The leader, Benjamin, has made a mistake on the exit of turn 2. Cold tyres, getting back up to racing speed, and he's done a half spin on the exit of the bottom of the hill. That sent him into the barrier. Looks like there's slight nose damage to the LMP2, and that's allowed VRC back into the lead of this race. So VRC1 taking command once more of this race. You've got Pim Van Ark, who's close behind as well. So the 74 has gone all the way down into P5 now. It is VRC1.
10 seconds off and go penalty for the number 08 car for speeding under code 80.
So the number 8 has been caught speeding under the code 80. So obviously pit limiters need to be on. And we saw that on the stream, just maybe a bit too much speed being carried. It looks like it was going on and off and on and off, trying to gain that a little bit. But he's been caught out, and that's a penalty issued by the number 8. So as soon as he's taking the lead, that's going to harm them quite severely. Pim Van Ark will then presume the lead of this race, or take the lead of this race. So coming into pit lane now, Fair Racing Team and the 57 now leading for the LMP2 class here.
All drivers,
Canadian
if a
time.
code 80 is called, please go at the pit speed limit. We know that for some reason it is at 100 kilometers an hour.
So race control just saying stay at the pit speed limit. Not too sure what that is. Let's try and find some action going on the circuit for you. We've got a civil war going on between the 97 and the 51. So let's go down to those quickly. That is P12 in this particular race. No, it's not. I tell a lie. Although it is. Okay, so we've had quite a few casualties in the LMP2 field here. And we've got the two World of Sim Racing cars going toe-to-toe with just over half an hour completed here. So the 52, which is the junior team, they're currently leading the standings after Sebring 2 weeks ago. 50 points on the board. Their teammates, the 51, all the way down in P4 with 28 points. They had a horrible start to the race but came back for a podium finish, a strong third at the end of the 6 hours. So this is a strong performance from both teams, second and third respectively. But how's it going to unfold in terms of team orders? That's always going to be something to watch. But they're going to have some company in a short while's time, because here comes Colin Sanders in the Track VR sim racing team. So that Aston Martin, we saw it battle out with Daniel Vidamari and others, and he's slowly gaining ground against the two of them. Beautifully painted car as well, might I add, and it is setting the pace that you would want to have at this stage. 1:16.4 the last lap that he did, as opposed to a 1:17 from the 51 machine. So he is gaining ground at this stage. Of course, coming up to the first round of pit stops for the LMP2s as well, coming up in the next 15 minutes or so, and then the GT3s will be due in the next 25 to 30 minutes as well. Only 2 stops required to get to the finish for the GT3s. Maybe one more for the LMP2s, depending on what engine mode they decide to take. What a race we've got on our hands here this afternoon, ladies and gents. This is really close racing. 2.5 seconds separating our leaders. That is Pim van Ark in the 57 and the number 7 from Go Team Racing. 74 from Seawolf has somehow regained back that lost ground and is now in 3rd place once more, just on our screens there behind Track VR Racing. So that is the LMP2 podium positions for you. Then Go Team Racing, again, strong performance from the team. They're leading in GT3 for the time being, followed by the 52 and the 51. The gap between those is around 8 seconds at present. But Colin Sanders now 0.5 seconds behind the 51 car. That's going to be the first of the podium positions in the GT3 category. And he's doing everything he needs to do at this moment in time. Bit of a rear wiggle from that Aston Martin, trying to get it back up to racing speed as he enters Moss Corner. Daniel Vidamari's having a slightly bad day. He's down in P5 at the moment. Glenn Beavis is trying to come back through the pack in his LMP2, and he's just about to separate him and the rest of the GT3. So Glenn Beavis offering Daniel Vidamari a small reprieve and bit of the breathing space from the Simco Endurance team, who are following close behind in P6 as well. Chris Weston in the Aston Martin, the first of the Brittech Simsport cars, has fallen behind by at least 1.5 seconds, most likely due to the LMP2 traffic, but I can't confirm or deny that. But a small gap between them at this stage. Simco Endurance using that McLaren's advantages here at Canadian Tire. Those high-speed corners that are all over the place here. A blight from turns 5 and Moss Corner. That's the only real slow corner. So the McLaren is extremely strong here, but it's the Aston Martins that are leading the way and showing dominance once again, as they did at Sebring 2 weeks ago. A lot of traffic going through Moss Corner right now. All of the cars all compiling onto one small piece of tarmac, it seems. Still only one DNF at this moment in time. They're still in the form of Tom Chasing, who is all the way down in last place. Not too sure what happened to him, but there was a slight bit of contact near the start of this race. That is for G-Force Racing Team, unfortunately, so they won't be seeing the checkered flag here this afternoon. Fingers crossed that will be an isolated incident, but we'll only have to wait and see. Staying on board with Simco Endurance, they're slightly falling behind the rest of the pack. So let's go back to Colin Sanders then, because he's firmly attached himself onto the back of the 51. That's in the hands of Daniel Fonte for the World of Sim Racing team. Let's have a look at the standings, see where they are in respect to one another. So if we go all the way to the number 11, they only have 1 point, so they didn't have a good time at Sebring. But what a recovery this will be if they can get onto the podium positions for round 2 before they break for Christmas. Meanwhile, the 51 car is way up the order in P4 with 28 points. LMP2's coming in to interfere with his efforts. Just plants that Orica as a virtual barrier, or physical barrier rather, sorry. Well, that's McLaren going wide there. Careful as he rejoins though, because he might make contact. Unsafe rejoin there from the 22nd place McLaren. He's also making contact with some of the team rookie monster LMP2s as well. That is, not too sure which car that is. 22nd place on the board. I think that's the Bad Wolves Esport racing car. Yes, it is. So it's the Bad Wolves Esport Racing McLaren 720. That's the 46 machine, causing issues there on the run down to turns 2. So what kind of damage has that caused Colin Sanders? We didn't get a nice enough camera angle to see if there's any contact made between the two of them, but it didn't look pleasant from where we were sitting. No damage to the right hand side from what I can see, although Rfactor2's damage mechanics are leave a lot to be desired, I think, in most parts, so you can't really tell what kind of damage they've got, but if anything it'll be very slight and minor damage done to that Aston Martin, luckily. So he just needs to focus, hammer down for the next few laps. Of course, we are approaching the second half of the stint here. We've got a battle going on further down the order. We've got Mark Veit and the Bad Wolves Esports car. This is the LMP2 teams. This is 14th and 15th place, now within a few tenths of seconds of each other. Madness Racing had a really strong start to this event, so something's happened to them for them to drop off. Let's have a look at see if they've gone into the pit lane. So number 3. So they've had 2 pit stops so far, 17 laps and then 10 laps. So that is not a regular strategy that they're carrying out there, so I can only presume that they've suffered damage at some point, which has put them out of contention for the top 10 here this afternoon. Going sideways through turn 2 might have something to do with it, but it doesn't look like the best way to get around that particular corner. And we've also got blue flags out here for the car behind. I think that's the 66 Esports Performance team. And that's a slow-moving McLaren as well. So this is a danger to all the other drivers now as he's coming down towards the fastest section of this track. So this is going to get very nasty. Luckily, there's not a lot of cars coming through this particular corner at this moment in time. It's going to retire back to the pit lane. And he's just gone back out on circuit again, so I'm not too sure what he's doing there. But this is now going to be a huge danger to everyone else that's now coming out on through this part of the circuit.
All drivers, this is race control, code 80 in 10 seconds.
Oh, and he just nearly took out one of the Fair Racing teams there as he got lost control of the rear of that McLaren.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Code 80 enforced. Number 46, please return to the pits and repair your damage.
So, yeah, so clear message from race control there. The 46 clearly hasn't repaired any damage. Why he entered pit lane and then decided to go back out again, I have no idea. But this thing is now coming through up to Moss corner. That's a low downforce corner. Is he now going to cause a further incident, as we saw with the LMP2 car that we had earlier on in this race as well? So,
Number 46, the speed limit under code 80 is 100 kilometers an hour. Please engage your pit speed limiter.
so he's ignoring regulations as well. So this is a huge... Don't know why this is happening for the 46, but he's going to come under the eye of race control now. It's not where you want to be. He's now going back into pit lane, I hope. Yes, he is. So fingers crossed he can get that damage repaired.
All drivers, this is race control. Green flag in 10 seconds.
What a strange
Green flag in 5,
event.
4, 3, 2, 1. Green, green, green.
Back up to racing speed, and that was at a crucial part of this race as well. So that's not what the LMP2 teams wanted, because they've just come in for their first round of stops, as we've got loads of cold tyres.
10-second stocker penalty for Nicholas Lemoyne for causing a collision.
And there's another penalty as well, so causing a collision for the on-off racing team. So that is in third place at the moment. So that's one of our top teams here this afternoon. So he's caused a collision at that restart. Caused cold tyres. Got to be careful about what you're doing. And that's a 10-second stop and go penalty for the team diving into pit lane as we speak. So a few things coming to a head here. This is heating up quite nastily here at Canadian Tire. So just remember, guys, make sure you take that deep breath. Remember, what's the bigger picture here? And that's to get to the checkered flag. And, you know, to make a move or to do something like that, especially that 46, don't know what that McLaren was doing, but it was not good. But back to the race then. We're leading is the Go Team Racing LMP2 machine. And there's a slow SSC racing car on the side of the road as well. So that was the Aston Martin that we saw at Sebring, looking for better hopes this time round. And we've got the two brick car machines going toe-to-toe as well. So Chris Weston still in charge, Alexis Clopano behind. This is for P7 in class. And they've got to make the move if they want to move ahead of their teammates. On the leaderboards for the 6 hours of Sebring, the 95 is leading the way out of the two with 20 points on the board. They did an extremely good job in the first half of the race and they came home with 20 points. However, they did retire in the second half. The 96, on the other hand, only got 3 and 2 points respectively. So they've got a bit of work to do to climb up that leaderboard for this round. Should get a decent number of points though, staying in their current positions. And the next competitive car for the team to catch as a whole is David Amari in the 68 in P6. Now, we was watching Colin Sanders for the Track VR racing team, and they were, last time we saw them, catching up to World of Sim Racing. Well, the situation has not changed since we last had them in our views. Oh, and as he does that, he goes onto the curbing of Moss Corner, nearly loses the rear end of that Aston Martin, as we mentioned just a minute ago, there's not a lot of traction available at that particular corner. You've got to be extremely careful when you decide to put your foot down once again to get back up to racing speed. Nicely held though there from Colin. Would have been a shame to see them go 180 around, because that would have lost them a lot of time and positions as well. It's now up to 1.5 seconds. Of course, you still have the two World of Sim Racing cars going toe-to-toe as well, within 1 second one another. And here's our leader for Go Team Racing for the 97. He's doing everything he needs to do at the moment to secure that place. And as you can see, the World of Sim Racing machines, the 52 and the 51, just coming through the apex of turn 5 now. So he's got a nice advantage of at least 6 seconds as things stands before the first round of pit stops. That last time by, 51 and the 52 have come together so slightly, and there's the 75 is in pit lane, so that's one of the LMP2 cars having issues. He's going down the order like a stone, and it's in pit lane. Not sure if that's a planned pit stop or not, but no damage to the car, so we'll come back off that and back to the race. We've got a battle going on further down the order here for the GT3 class. We've got at least 3 GT3s going toe-to-toe. This is the rookie monster BMW, driven by Simon Marshall here. That's in 9th place. Ahead is Alexis Clapano and also Dylan Tarboton as well. So he's got a bit of work to do. Here comes 360 Motorsport as well. They're up the inside. And that's the 13 machine. So I believe they're a lap down. That's not for position. Simon Marshall all the way down in P13 now. That's Angus Tong that's taken charge of that particular car. One of the only BMWs on grid at the moment. That's a very wide, I think that's number 21. Yeah, One Vision Esports going wide in that Aston Martin there. Nicely held, stayed on the grey stuff, and no harm done. So it's a 4-way battle at the moment. You've got the 21 leading this particular pack. Then the 53, that's the World of Sim Racing, that's their 3rd entry, that's the AM team. Then it is Angus Tong in the 99. They go through just by the skin of their teeth through turns 5. Angus Tong back up into P12 then. And then we have 360 Motorsport.
All drivers, this is race control. Code 80 in 10 seconds.
And there's another code 80 here at Canadian Tire.
Cancel that. There will be no code 80.
So whatever the issue is, it's now been resolved. So a bit of a strange one. I've never had that before. I've never had a cancelled code 80. That's quite interesting. Keeping the drivers on their toes at race control. But whatever the issue was, clearly it resolved itself. Colin Sanders into the pit lane now, so that's interesting. Coming in quite early, 6 minutes to the hour. That's an early pit lane maneuver, or sorry, early pit strategy there from Track VR Sim Racing. Maybe they want to just get out a bit of traffic and get that out of the way, over and said and done. Let's have a look at Hydra Racing, or Hydra Esports. They're currently trying to catch up to the number 8 of VRC1. So they did have a 10-second stop and go. They were caught speeding under the code 80. And they are now under attack from Turka Hakkinen. Got a nice bit of clear traffic ahead of them. So that basically means that the fastest man will win at this moment in time. Let's have a look and see when they came into the pits. So they're currently on their 8th lap for this particular stint for the number 90 car. We've already pitted once, it seems. VRC1 due to come into the pit lane. They've already completed 44 laps here at Canadian Tire. It's a long way to go. Looks like Turk Hakkinen is struggling to keep up with VRC1 at this stage. Of course, they are our pole sitters for this afternoon. Had the best time in qualifying, and it was with Roman behind the wheel as well, who's currently sitting in the cockpit of that yellow machine. So he's definitely going to have the grip between his teeth and going for it, because he wants to make as much lost ground as possible after that stop and go penalty, and doing a good job of doing so by the looks of things as well. He's got the next car up ahead, which is the 57 from Pim van Ark. For the Fair Racing team. And that's just coming up through turns 3 and 4 as well. So it's got a bit of work to do, maybe around 10 to 15 seconds adrift before he can fight for that position. And the Fair Racing team are also trying to catch up to the 74 for Seawolf Net Race Motorsports. It's been a while since we looked at Daniel Vidamari. They're in the pit lane now. So first round of pit stops coming in for the GT3s then. So we've seen Colin Sanders in, that's Daniel Vidamari in and out of pit lane 2. Now, of course, we have to wait until to see what the rest of the grid will do. Here comes the pit stops, because Daniel Vidamari all the way down in 17th place according to the live timings, which isn't correct in my eyes. And then we've got the 2 World of Sim Racing cars, Aston Martin's going for it as well. They're within striking distance of one another. But here comes some of the LMP2s as well. So the 47 sitting in 10th place. VRC1 going around the long way around the outside. Overtakes both of them within one swoop. And that's impressive manoeuvre there from the racing. Able to read the traffic ahead. Impressive stuff. Both the cars in 2nd and 3rd place for the time being. And that's On-Off Racing going through the pack as well. They're currently sitting in P9 in class. starting to gain now on the Aston Martin, but starting to back out. So fuel saving going on between the two teams. Team orders in effect. Doesn't look like they're going to fight it out between one another. Was a bit of a mistake there from the 51. Oh, sorry, that's the 52 rather. That's driven by Jordi San Andre. And Daniel Fonte struggling to get that Aston Martin turned in for the exit of turn 1 as well. So, of course, in the later stint with these cars, struggling to find that grip that's available on a very cold Canadian tyre circuit. And we've also got Simcoe Endurance Team in the 43 closing that gap up. So if we have a look at the last lap times here for the teams, 1:15.9 for the World of Sim Racing cars. Velasquez 1:15.959, so he's on similar to equal pace with the cars ahead. But it's not to be forgotten that he doesn't have a slipstream at the moment either. So if he can break that barrier and get behind one of the Astons within striking distance, he could very well close this gap up in that McLaren. There's one of the World of Sim Racing cars into the pit lane then. Just completed the first hour of this 3-hour event, ladies and gents. So 1 hour and 59 minutes still remaining here. And what a first hour it's been. We've currently got Go Team Racing leading the way in both classes. Moritz Mel in the number 7 LMP2 has an advantage of around 8 seconds against the eSports Performance team. That's the 66. They're sitting nicely in second place. Then it's a fairly large gap to the Team Rookie Monster car, the 56 machine driven by Malcolm Smith. He's on the last final podium position, but being chased down by the 74 from Seawolf Net Tracer Motorsport. In GT3, you've got Go Team Racing by Georgi Nedev behind the wheel of his Aston Martin, leading the way by at least 8 seconds against the World of Sim Racing car 51. And then you've got Simcoe Endurance Team, who've just, of course, come into the pit lane. Oh, and that's the, I think that's the number 12 off the side of the circuit there. They're in P9 at the moment. No, it's not. It's one of the other ones. It might be the GRG Esports
All
machine
drivers,
then.
this race control, code 80 in 10 seconds.
So I think it's the 29.
18, 5, 4, 3,
Yep.
2, 1, code 18 force.
So that is another incident there for one of the McLarens in the GT3 field. Oh, and he's losing it coming out of turn 1. So doesn't look like he's also got his code pit limiter enforced either. He's going very quick given the
Number
circumstances.
23, engage your pit limiter. You clearly can't drive with a damaged car like that.
So it'd be interesting to see if a penalty is given. So another code 80, ladies and gents. I think that's maybe the 3rd or 4th one here at Mosport Round 2. It is a very narrow circuit here. A lot can happen in that small space of time. So it is said in the driver briefing that they need to return the pits on code 80 as well. So they can't just speed back as fast as they can to minimise loss. They have to go back on their pit limiter, same as everyone else. So, of course, given the downforce available on the rear of that McLaren, that is not the way to drive it either. So it's getting very loose very easily.
All drivers assist race control, going to green flag in 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Green, green, green.
So back up to racing speed now and back to the action in the LMP2 field. This is for P7 in class. Turk Hakkinen defending against Mantas Rikas of the team Ricky Moss's car. He has the slipstream on the run down into sector 3 and ready to use it. Side by side they go on the run down towards turn 8. He's going to have the outside line, but that will put him in the right position that he wants to be in for the apex of turn 9. Using that excess speed, that extra bit of tarmac that's available. And they both make contact. Turk Hakkinen just managing to hold to the front end of that car. Of course, it is very narrow there on the apex, and he wants that optimal line as best he can. But luckily, both make it through, and he takes the position away from Turk Hakkinen and Hydra Racing. Bit of lag there from the server, but all is well. Maurice Mell is still in the lead for Go Team Racing and the LMP2 field here. He's got a best lap time of 106.5 on the board and a gap of around 30 seconds against the rest of the competition. And we've got one more DNF as well. That's in the form of the LMP2 team. That's Georgi Koltsov. That's one of the VRC1 entries, I believe. So further bad news for the VRC1 entries. And what is going on here with the server? That is really bizarre. Did see a rear wing on the road there as well. Maybe there's been an incident as a stationary tyre. I believe this is on my end. I'm not too sure. I hope so. But it seems to have stabilised now. No damage or code 80 is being called. So I believe it was just on my end that was having a massive dump. So I apologise for that lack of or panicked stream. But server is fine. Server is fine. It's just my bad internet connection. Unfortunately, it does have its moments. Got to love Virgin Media. It decides when it wants to work, ladies and gents. And of course, at Christmas, everyone's using it nowadays. So unfortunately, we will have small little blips. But we will fight on through as best we can. We've got a battle for 4th place in the LMP2s. This is number 8 against the 56 from Team Ricky Moss as well. Just catching the back end of this one as he goes through into P4 in class. So that's the move that he needed to do for that entry because they had such a great start, and that penalty obviously put them far down the order. So it's a recovery drive and a half there from the VRC1 entry, and doing a good job of it as they continue to fight towards those all-important podium positions. Got word of Sim Racing car there in the pit lane and getting the next set of rubber and fuel, as is the 77 as well. So a lot of pit stops taking place here in the second part of the race. We're coming halfway in just a few moments' time.
Ten-second stop and go assigned to the number 23 for speeding under the code 80 while damaged.
So that was the car that we saw earlier. I think that was the it's GRG Esports. McLaren that had to go under repairs. He's got a 10-second for speeding under pit lane conditions. So let's have a look, see if we've got some battles on track at the moment. So the VRC1 is extending or driving away from the pack, and we have a battle on our hands for 2nd place in LMP2, ladies and gents. Pim van Ark going wheel to wheel with Seawolf Netrace Motorsports in the form of Benjamin. He's defending with all he's got for this position at this stage. Of course, they're about mid-stint on their second set of fuel at the moment, and this is going to be a good one to watch. Two very experienced teams going toe-to-toe. We've also got some GT3 traffic in the way as well. I think that's the Simco Endurance team. Oh, and he nearly makes a mistake coming onto the outside of that car. Bit of drifting going on there inside the cockpit of the 57. Pim van Ark holding it very nicely indeed as he comes down towards Moss Corner. That's going to cost him a bit of time though. Still within slipstream distance, just about. So he is gaining some ground now, coming up, tugging up behind that 57. Seawolf Netrace defending with everything they've got, trying to use the GT3 traffic to their advantage to split the two cars as best they can. Got Track VR Racing, that is the number 11. They're now in second place in class after that first round of pit stops. So that undercut that they did, they came in early compared to the rest of the field, and it's worked wonders for them as they now sit firmly in second place by at least 9 seconds. All eyes on this battle though for second place. Pim van Aert certainly has the pace to make this move at this stage of the race. 1 hour and 48 minutes left remaining. And even more GT3 traffic impeding his advance there as he's now stuck behind the Reading Game Studios car. Oh, and there's contact made. So why did he not read that better? So that's a very rare mistake seen from Pim van Ark. I mean, coming into that situation, you would have wanted to have backed out of it, obviously knowing the GT3s can't go through the corner at speed like that, and that's going to most likely result in a penalty. Just didn't read the situation as well as you would expect, and just essentially punted the GT3 up the rear and sent it 180 spinning around. So it's those kind of mistakes that lead to losses of position, unfortunately. You know, you need to be able to predict what kind of entry speed the competition is doing, especially when it comes to multi-class racing. And Fair Racing team are, you know, they've had a lot of events, a lot of experience and a lot of success. So I really was not expecting that to end the way it did. Now the gap has gone up to about 2-3 seconds now between the two cars. That means that the number 8 machine can now make headway and advance towards them. And we've actually got the 66 going DNF, so something's happened for the 66 to go out of this particular race. Bringing the death toll up to 5 cars now. So 35 cars still remaining here for round 2 of the WSCC, and just over an hour into the race. On board with the World of Sim Racing 51 machine. At the moment, they're trying to make their way forward once more. Currently sitting in 8th place at the moment, Jordi San Andres, or Andre, still in charge of the Aston Martin, and ahead is Nick Newcomb in the 95 for Bricktech Sim Sports, their AM effort for this championship. Definitely gained ground that time through the apex of turn 8 and 9. And that's a stationary 75 there as well. Just cut on the entrance to pit lane. Both Bad Wolves Esports cars looking like they're having a bad day here at Mosport. LMP2 is coming into play. That's the 57, still Pim Van Ark. Oh, what a bit of a tank slab for the 52, trying to get on the power. Rode that inside curb just ever so slightly, which isn't really the best of ideas. And that caused that rear of the Aston Martin to snap just slightly. Nicely caught and no time lost in the grand scheme of things. But that's allowed Nick Newcomb a bit of breathing space there as he runs down into Sector 3. Going further down the order, we've also got the other World of Sim Racing machine on a recovery drive, so they haven't really had the best of tactics unfold here. For some reason, they have gone from being second and third all the way down into 8th, and also, where's the 51 at the moment? He's in 31st overall, so that's 18th place in class. So they've got the core team ahead of them, which is the McLaren effort for the 22. And they've got a lot of work to do to recover this. Going side by side. Shouldn't be too much of a problem for Daniel Fonte. Now up into 17th place. So that is a really bad tactic for them. Whatever's happened, maybe they've took too much fuel or the pit stop has gone. Maybe they took tyres perhaps. Let's have a look at what their strategy is. So they've done 47 laps. They're now on lap 5 of their current stint. It won't tell me whether or not they've taken extra tyres, unfortunately, on a race view. But, you know, to be that far down, I mean, let's have a look at core teams. So the 22. They're on their 10th lap at the moment on their current stint with their current driver at the moment. Let's go back to the LMP2's Mantis Ricus, the 33. He's currently sitting in 8th place and catching up to Marcelo Tocco in the 47. That's the sister Seawolf Netrace Motorsport effort. And looking like they're going to do battle very shortly as they run down towards Sector 3 here. It's got the slipstream and also, very strangely, an open bit of track, which seems to be very rare here for round 2, but gaining ground under the slipstream, coming in towards the fastest 2 corners here, and he's got a better line coming through the apex of turns 9, coming into white corner and across the start finish line. He's going to be looking to take advantage on the next time they go onto the Andretti straightaway. If he can maintain that gap he's got at present, then he will be able to fight for that position. Seems to be losing a bit of momentum though, coming through Sector 1. It's up to 0.3 seconds now, coming through turn 3. I don't believe that he's going to be close enough this time by to make the move. No, too far away, certainly, especially if he isn't alongside before he gets to the Canadian tyre sign overhead. Oh, and a big incident there for Marcelo Tocco. That was extremely bizarre. He's now facing 90 degrees inside pit lanes. Caught the back end of that tyre wall on the exit of turn 9. And this is going to be a massive issue for the team as one of the GT3s wants in on pit lane. That's the Porsche from Team Rookie Monsters. Now he's got to have the awkward task of facing about while in heavy traffic to get back up to racing speed. He's got to sit and wait, and luckily there's a bit of an opening.
All drivers, caution, there is a car facing the wrong way at pit entry.
So, of course, all the cars want to get into pit lane at the same time. And, of course, he doesn't want to get into pit lane by the looks of things. I'm not too sure what he's doing. He's reversing, going forward again. Does he want pit lane or not? I'm a bit confused. Yes, he does. So he finally gets the car turned about. And
pit entry is clear.
And he's back up into the pit lane and about to do the necessary repairs. But that was extremely bizarre. I've not seen that before. Seawolf Netrace Motorsport back into the pit lane, though. Now that's going to cost him a bit of time. It took him at least half a minute to a minute in order to resolve that problem. And here comes the Go Team Racing. Let's see what kind of lap times they're doing at the moment. So they did 35 laps on their first round of pit stops. And they're currently on 29. So 5 more laps and they will be into pit lane according to these statistics and this information. They're currently leading the rest of the pack by about 27 seconds. According to live timing. So it's a nice advantage that they've got at this stage of the race, coming up to the halfway mark here for round 2. Now back up to speed is Daniel Vidamari for Team RSI. He's in the 68 Aston Martin and in P4, which is where we saw him at the start of this race. It's been a bit of a tumbly start for the team, but they have stabilised, it seems, and back up to fighting strength now. The 99 of Angus Tongan. Oh, that LMP2, number 12, which is in the hands of Glenn Beavis, the 37 Team Rookie Monster effort, nearly took out that Aston Martin. And he seems to be very impatient in getting by some of the GT3s here at the moment. You just got to remember to take it easy, pick your moments wisely, because it can go horribly wrong for you and the unsuspecting victim. Madness Racing and Team Rookie Monsters going through, as is the VRC1 team. They're currently in P6 at the moment. And they're trying to catch up to On-Off Racing. And also that is Simco Endurance Team going wide on the exit of turn 2 there. So that has allowed Daniel Vidamari and Team RSI through. And that McLaren concedes that podium position and goes into P4. Now, Team RSI are currently second in the standings. They've got 40 points at the moment. The 52 machine is the next competitor up, and they're on 50 points. Of course, only one set of points available here for Canadian Tire. You get 2 sets of points for the 6-hour races in this championship, but only 1 set of points for the 3-hour races here in WSCC. So this is going to be it. Once they get to the checkered flag here this afternoon, that will be the points awarded, and they will be the only points on offer here for the end of 2019. So the 52 needs to get back up the order if it wants to hold on to the lead of this championship. As at the moment, they will be losing the lead by quite a few points to Team RSI if they can come home in 3rd place. And the 52 is currently sitting in 7th, and that's even behind their AM effort, which is the 53. So they've got a lot of work to do, but they've still got an hour and a half to do so. Now On-Off Racing, with their extremely bright LMP2, are sitting in 5th place at the moment, last of the top 5. Chris Gonzalez is just ahead, and as I say that, Pete, he's gone wide off of turn 2, caught the grass on the right-hand side, which is the entry point for that particular corner, and just went straight off into space. But luckily that you've got a nice wide runoff area that's available to him, was able to hold it and retain control of that LMP2 car. Fair racing down into P5 now then. Going up and down the live timing, trying to find some battles that are unfolding here. We've got quite a few casualties. We've got both the Bad Wolves Esports cars are out, both the LMP2 and the GT3. We've got VRC1, the 18 car, which is retired. We've also got One Vision Esports Aston Martin retired as well, alongside GeForce Racing. So that's 6 casualties so far, 34 still running. And frankly, I'm quite surprised it is at that number, to be honest, because we've had quite a few nasty experiences with only halfway into this race. And all the cars seem to be around a second away from one another for the most part. We've got a few 5s, a few 10s as well, but most of the battles are around a second apart.
Drive-through penalty car number 8 for contact while trying to lap GT3 fields.
So that's VRC1 again. So Roman, of course, in his desperations maybe to reassert himself onto the back end of this battle. Of course, he is our qualifying man. Pole position, and that's another stop and go penalty. Of course, we didn't actually see the contact from our perspective, but further sad news then for the team. So now back down into P7. We've also got Dennis Castillo Sims. He's coming through sector 3, and he may be about to come out and in the midst of this battle, as Roman gets back up to racing speed himself as well. So it's a bit of a gap, but luckily he's able to retain 7th place and stay 1 lap down from our leaders. So Team Rookie Monsters, the 56, with Bart in charge. He's on lap 72 at the moment. Rest of the cars on lap 51. So around the top 7 are on the lead lap at this moment in time, but it is extremely close between all involved. Pretty sure that it's going to come down to the splash and dash tactics used by the LMP2 teams, because they have to go that extra bit further than the GT3s in respect of their fuel tanks. They don't last as long as the GT3s. And GRG Esports trying to take on Daniel Fonte, who's having further bad luck. So the 51, the car that was in 2nd place, is all the way down in 15th at the moment. And Ramiro Perez for GRG Esports, the car that had issues earlier on, is back up and in the fight and about to take this position away. Currently 15th place is on offer. Let's go to another battle on our hands. That is Reading Games Studios and their Aston Martin fighting with Team Rookie Monsters, I believe. I can't catch them quick enough. It's the 73 that is Team Rookie Monsters. That's their Aston Martin car. They've got 6 cars in this championship. Safe to say, I think they like it here. And they're doing battle for 11th place, so just outside those top 10 positions, which is where you'd likely want to be. That's where all the points start to really shoot up into doubles. And he's got the slipstream for the time being. We've also got Colin Sanders. He's behind in the Track VR effort. But that isn't for position. That's going to be a lap up from the rest of the competition because Colin Sanders is still in 2nd place. So that's going to be a blue flag situation coming up very shortly. If you remember correctly, earlier on in this race, Reading Games Studios were fighting for that position alongside the number 11 machine. So something has happened, of course, as the tactics unfold and the traffic becomes an issue. The number 11 has really capitalised on the situation and made huge ground in comparison to the 86 and the cars around them. Unfortunately, Reading Games Studios having to fight over the rest of the pack and try and make their efforts into top 10 finish here this afternoon. Yeah, he's going wide, giving a berth available to Colin, allowing him through on the inside line. That's blue flag honoured. But that means that he's now lost the ground that he so hardly had to fight to gain against that Aston Martin from the Rookie Monsters team. We are now past the halfway mark for round 2 of the WSCC, ladies and gents. So what we're going to do is go for a quick commercial break. 3 hours of talking does exhaust me, so we're going to go for a 5-minute break and then we'll bring you the action back. So don't go anywhere. See you soon. Hello ladies and gents, welcome back to the second half of round 2 of the World Sports Car Challenge. We are at Canadian Tire and we've had one hell of a race so far. We've had everything from wheel-to-wheel racing to strange phenomena where cars have span out 180 in the most bizarre situations known to man. And we've had right now this battle for the lead unfolding between Team Rookie Monsters and Morris Mel for Go Team Racing. They are going at it throughout this commercial break, and we also had a Code 80 take place while we was away for those 5 minutes, and I'm not too sure what that was for. We didn't get informed, but we're now back up fully to racing speed. Morris Mel then charging down Team Rookie Monsters. That's the 56 car, and trying to use the traffic to the best of their ability to hold that team back. Now the 56 on the leaderboards is currently in 9th place with 22 points in total as of Sebring 2 weeks ago, whereas the number 7 is looking to claim its first victory here, as they have only got 7 points on the board after a few incidents they ran into at Sebring 2 weeks ago. So it'll be a vital move that they need to make on this team if they want to jump up those leaderboards before we end 2019. We've also had a few battles unfold in the GT3 pack as well. Daniel Vidimari now in 2nd place and Simco Endurance in 3rd. The World of Sim Racing team, the 53, which is their AM efforts, in 4th place, but still bad news for the 52 and the 51 as they line up in 6th and 13th respectively. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel because we like to know what we're doing is good. If you are enjoying it, then please give us a thumbs up on this video, this live stream, and also subscribe for further events. Of course, the next round available to us is the 6 hours of Road Atlanta. That's taking place next year on the 15th of January, and all the teams will be, that's going to be a tough one for them to come back to and relaunch the 2020 campaign, so to speak, for their LMP2 and GT3 teams. So I guess you could say that this is the calm before the storm. But Canadian Tire is a good setup for the upcoming event because it is very narrow and it's very high speed. Very similar to the layout of Road Atlanta. A bit more forgiving here at Canadian Tire, I would think, in my own personal opinion. It's a very open circuit in some places. The runoff areas are a lot more forgiving here at Mosport. But at Road Atlanta, rather, sorry, you are pretty much dead if you decide to venture off that optimal racing line. The only break you get is, of course, down the back straight towards the chicane of turn 10, I believe it is. Anyway, back to the matter at hand. Morris Mel has definitely closed down the gap to the 56 machine. Here comes the battle for the lead, ladies and gents, as they run down towards the next sector of corners. They are going too wide over the brow of the hill, and ahead is a few GT3 cars. That's going to cause problems for them. Flashing of headlights is going on as the leading GT3, the Go Team car, actually opens the door for their fellow prototype car and lets them have that racing line. So a bit of cheeky teamwork going on there between the two cars. It's nothing to say that you can't help out a fellow man in need, but that's allowed them back into control of this race. Now, as mentioned before, the Go Team Racing team as a whole, both entries that are available here in the WSCC, are leading both LMP2 and GT3 as well. So it's Christian, I think it's Pallison, I'm sorry if I completely butchered that name. The 97 Aston Martin is doing an incredible job at holding that first place at the moment. The rest of the competition have struggled to keep pace with this team. Last lap was a 117.3. Daniel Vidimari is still on pace, doing 117.3 last time by as well. But still a lot of work to do. 9 seconds adrift from the rest of the competition. He's just coming through the last set of corners now. So that's actually incorrect then. So live timing is lying to me. That's a much larger gap than what is on the board. If we have a look at race view, the gap is about a minute according to race view. So I think that's a bit more accurate as opposed to what my board is saying. So that's going to either be a situation for Team RSI where something happens to the 97 ahead, which of course we don't want to happen, or is something tactically going on, which I don't think it is, because we've still got 1 hour and 16 minutes still remaining here for this particular round, and the GT3 is pretty much going to the pit lane on the dot, or at least 5 to 10 minutes on either side, so I wouldn't expect them to come into the pits anytime soon. LMP2 fielders pretty much spread out thinly across the GT3 field here. We've got large gaps present between all of the teams. Bart's just coming to the pit lane for the rookie monster team. That's allowed Pim Van Ark and the 74 from Seawolf Net Race to go through. Do have a battle going on between these GT3s, so this is in 3rd place at the moment. You've got the 53 catching up. Oh, and Turka Hakkonen's trying to squeeze through by the skin of his teeth for Hydra Racing there. Just manages to without getting taken out by the Aston, trying to go the long way round. Not the optimal line I would have chosen personally. Of course, being the GT3, you always expect something to come down on the inside of the corner, not to go around the outside. And of course, where his eyes are going to be is straight ahead. He's not going to be looking in that left-hand mirror. So we've got these two cars now. The 53 is actually the AM car for World of Sim Racing. That's Victor Aurelia in charge. And let's have a look where they are in terms of the standings for the 53. They've only got 3 points on the board, down in 16th place from Sebring. So this will be a comeback for this particular team if they can get a strong result here at Mosport. Well, there's actually one of the backmarker GT3 McLarens that are coming through there. That's in 17th place at the moment. And that's not GRG Esports. I think it's truly GP Motorsports. That's David and Antoniaya. And he's fighting through the pack as we speak. The number 80 making good ground. Last lap for them was a 117.5. So that's on par with what we're seeing up at the top end of the grid. So there could be a strong comeback about to occur if that number 80 can clear this bit of traffic. Aston Martin comes back onto the outside line, showing that strength that it holds when it comes to raw power. But the McLaren swoops back into that position, of course. Blue flags will be in effect in this situation, but if he's got the extra pace to maintain that gap, then race control might allow it. Who knows? McLaren, though, strong in the corners. As you can see here, gains a lot of time through the apex of the corner itself. But that Aston Martin, he's got the ponies on the straight to come back. But yeah, that car definitely strong at this stage. Look at Simco Endurance also there. McLaren strong through these high-speed corners. We were saying that at the start of this race. They all have different advantages and disadvantages. And looks like McLarens are definitely coming into their own in Sector 1 and 2 here at Canadian Tire. We've got Ibrahim Khan in the 74 for Seawolf Net Race Motorsport going onto the outside line there in the LMP2. Currently sitting in second place with a big, large gap of around 38 seconds before you see our leader, Go Team Racing, with Maurice Mel there. Now the Aston Martin wasn't close enough this time by to catch up to the back of these two McLarens here. Of course, the situation, very close there for on-off racing, and he's tapped the back end of that McLaren. That was the 79. That's Charlie Rigo for On-Off Racing. Just wanted a bit of a confidence boost there for the McLaren going through the first corner. Of course, everything is high speed here, so even the slightest of taps from either of the cars can have huge consequences. And there's the reason that he's going so aggressively for those gaps. That's because he's under attack from the man behind. And that is the 33 machine from Team Rookie Monsters. Gaining, he's closer. Will he be close enough though? That's the question. Alongside, too wide as they come down towards turn 8. The two LMP2s going for it, and the 33 goes through. That excess speed and that room available on the right hand side is what you need coming into that set of corners. And of course, if you're on-off racing, you don't want to really be on the inside line on the entry to turn 8 and 9, because there's no room available for you. You've got to brake earlier. You've got to hug that apex line. If I was defending, I'd rather hold the outside line, because you can have that room to maneuver. You've got that extra track space available for you, and at the end of the day, if you can hold it alongside, you've got the inside line for turns 9, which will set you up for turns 10 nicely as well.
For drivers, this is race control, code 80 in 10 seconds.
Another code 80.
Code 80 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Code 80 enforced.
So I believe it's this machine here. Yes, it is. So core team, the 22 effort, currently down in 29th place. That's 16th in class. And they've had a massive off at some point, most likely coming into turns 5 at Moss Corner. And they've lost the rear wing of that car. And of course, being the McLarens, they need that in order to go fast. So they're extremely slow in this code 80. Nicely spotted by race control. All I can say is thank God we have code 80s this year, because it really does help, especially at a place like this where everything is so fast paced. You just cannot take any slow threat for for granted. It will really screw up the
drivers,
teams.
green flag in 10 seconds.
And into the pit lane he goes, thanks to a nudge from the 74 as well.
Green flag in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Green.
Back with the Rookie Monster LMP2 then. So let's try and find some battles out on circuit. Of course, we've just seen this one unfold between On-Off Racing and the Team Rookie Monster 33 LMP2. They're around 1 second away from each other at the moment, coming down into turns 8. And we do actually have a battle in GT3 unfolding. This is Angus Tong and the 52 from World of Sim Racing. They're trying to make their recovery drive at the moment, which they are. Jordi San Andres still in charge of that Aston Martin. He's fighting for P5 in class. Got one of the cars coming out of pit lane, GT3. And bad luck there for that BMW M6 as the LMP2 swooped down the inside line. That's going to cost him a bit of time there. In the meantime, though, the 52 gets quite an easy life as they all pass on the run down towards turn 5 as well. So he's had a slightly better bit of luck there. As is multi-class racing, sometimes it works in your favour, sometimes it doesn't. But of course, track and traffic management is key to victory here. Going back to Charlie Rigo as he fights his way through the LMP2 field, trying to catch up to the 33. A few cars in pit lane at the moment. That's one of the Brittech SimSport machines. They're currently sitting in 9th place. Nick Newcomb still behind the wheel of that leading car. And the 96, Chris Weston in charge, all the way down in 17th place, unfortunately. So not a good day for that particular team. But it looks like 95 finishing in the top 10. Maybe a few bits of ground to make as well. In the meantime, Colin Sanders, the Track VR racing team, they've had a really bad spell in the last hour or so. They're all the way down in 8th place from when we last saw them. They were in 2nd. So something's happened to the team there tactically, or maybe they suffered damage at some point. Let's have a look into that while this battle is getting just ever so slightly closer. It's got the Seawolf Net Race car in between the two of them. That's a 74. We've also got battles unfolding between these two teams as well. This is the 47 and the number 3. Going 3 wide on either side. Pass on the grass happening there from Mark Veit. Or is it? No, sorry, it's Lucas Lichten as he goes around the outside of the rookie monster Aston Martin, taking that position away. Again, we've seen the passes happening more on the left-hand side at this part of the circuit as opposed to defending on the inside. You want to stay outside line. Gives you a lot more room to maneuver. Every time we've seen that, they've taken the position away. So definitely what I would be doing in that situation. Back up into P9 though for the number 3 as he makes that pass look easy. But yeah, we were looking into Colin Sanders. He's actually made 2 pit stops, so they've actually pitted on time. So we're expecting them to go back up the order. So they've done a stint of 38, a stint of 33, currently on their 12th lap for their current stint now. Whether that was due to a code 80 being called and they decided to pit early or not, I don't know. But there doesn't seem to be anything untowards in terms of their pit strategy, and they might just be trying to do a splash and dash at the end of this race. But definitely something to keep an eye on. They're currently P8 at the moment. They're going to shoot back up the order as this stint comes to a close. All the GT3s are due to come in the next few laps or so. And it will just be a case of how long can they last? Can they get to the end of this race without having to do a splash and dash? And that's the question that you've got to ask yourselves. I don't think personally that they can. They've already done 12 laps at the moment and it's coming up to 60 minutes remaining now. So it's a tall order to have that Aston Martin last on such a little amount of fuel, if you ask me. I mean, let's compare it to someone that's in that kind of position at the moment. They did 40 laps for Team RSI, and then they came into the pits. They did 40 laps. That's the maximum you can have, I presume, depending on when they came in. It's safe to assume that that is the furthest that car can go. But yeah, be interesting to see. Madness Racing starting to improve on that gap against the 47. Marcelo Tocco not able to keep pace.
All drivers, this is race control, code 80 in 10 seconds.
Another code 80. Jesus. So these things are
Code
coming
80
thick
in
and fast.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Code 80 in fourth.
There's a lot of code 80s going on here. Not too sure what that one's for. Doesn't seem to be anything down the back straight or any major discrepancies on my live timing. But Race Control usually do it for a reason. We've had the Punto Cero Sim Racing car retire recently. Is that Team RSI going into pit lane? Hopefully they're not involved, so they're in pit lane now, and their last pit stop. This is perfect timing for the GT3s, might I add. Oh, and our leader overshoots his pit box. That is disastrous news there for Christian Pallison. So he's overshot the pit box massively, and that's essentially free time gained for Team RSI there. Of course, all the LMP2 still going by. Go Team Racing still leading the way for the LMP2 field by at least 40 or so seconds. Ibrahim Khan's decided to come into the pit lane as well, so they're getting this last splash and dash out of the way. They will still need to come back in one more time, as far as I'm aware. Had one of the VRC cars DNF as well. That's the number 8 machine. So that's bad news. So our pole sitting car, the person that qualified fastest by 0.003 of a second here this afternoon, has retired from the race. Whether or not that's a result of a driver change issue is unknown to us. Gotta love Rfactor2 in all of its glory sometimes. Just waiting now to go back to racing conditions here.
All drivers, this is race control, green flag in 10 seconds.
And as I say that, they get back up to speed. So the information that I'm eager to find out.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Green flag.
So the information that I'm eager to find out is that Danny Vidamari had a flawless pit stop, executed as intended, and that code 80 fell beautifully into their hands. But how much time has that gained them against our leading cars, the number 97? They overshot their pit box by quite a margin. It took them some time to rectify it as well. So also, I don't think they've had a driver change. I think Georgi Nadev has been in the car from the start of this race as well. No, I do think... actually, I think he's just got back in. Yeah, that's correct. So he's just done the driver change there. And Georgi Nadev is back in charge now. So that was their final pit stop for this event. But where is the 68? So Team RSI now conceding Gianni Vidamari. He's outside of the car. The car. And Leonardo is behind the wheel. So let's see what he can do. Put his cards on the table, see what kind of pace he can put down. But will it be enough to catch up to the 97? So it's kind of interesting because the 68 is now down into P5, whereas the 97 is still retaining the lead of the race despite their little hiccup here. So let's have a look to see what the 43 did in those circumstances. They're coming through turn 2 now. and they're about to change in a few moments' time. So that's very peculiar coming from Simco Endurance Team. Why have they decided to stay out on track when their stint is already on lap 42? They could have very easily come into the pit lane and changed those tyres if needed and get a new full set of gasoline or petrol, whatever. Of course, we're in Canada, so we have to say everything as it is. So he's going to have to come back into pit lane in the next 1 or 2 laps, which seems a bit pointless to me, personally, but there you go. I'm no tactician. I'll let the teams decide for themselves. We've had quite a few teams retire recently. The 77 has gone out, the 88 SCC Racing has gone out, and the 72 as well. So quite a high casualty rate is starting to appear here in the last 55 minutes or so. Started with 39, only 30 survivors. So the death toll is starting to increase in the final stages of this race. Looking at the live timing, there's quite a few gaps appearing between all of the cars now. So, of course, with the LMP2 field, we're not expecting much to happen until we get that last splash and dash up here. Some of the teams came in on the hour. That means that they will still need to come in with around 15 minutes left remaining to get to the checkered flag. How is that going to affect it? Well, it depends when they come into the pit lane. Oh, there was a very sideways car there coming through turns 2. Not too sure which one that one was. That was the VRC1 entry. They're all the way down in 13th place. So things have gone from bad to worse for VRC1 here. But they're back up and running. Max Bunovic in charge. He's got a bit of work to do to catch up to the next competitive car as well. Now on lap 96. Whereas our leaders here on lap 102. So it just goes to show the gaps that are present between the cars as this race has unfolded. Of course, being such a short lap as well, I wouldn't take that too much for granted. Of course, they're only about 60 seconds per lap here for the LMPs. There's a very scary moment there for Madness Racing as well. It looks like they tried going up the inside of one of the McLarens. I think it was the number 80. Of David Antonea. Just maybe didn't see him there and had to go onto the grass again. Lucas Lichtenstein making a habit of passing on the grass here at Mosport this afternoon. And Daniel Vidamari, or sorry, Team RSI are in pit lane with damage by looks of things. The 68 going down the order. That's not good news for the team. They were hoping for a podium finish here this afternoon. But I'm sure we'll get information as to what's happened to the team in a short while. Team RSI losing positions. Miguel from Rookie Moss is going through as well. We've got Max Reichel, Reading Game Studio Racing. They're going through as well. So as we approach, or we've just gone past the final hour, so 51 minutes remaining. Here is how it stands at the moment. So we have Morris Mel for Go Team Racing holding on to the LMP2 lead and of course the overall lead of this race. And behind by about 50 to 55 seconds or so is Seawolf Netrace Motorsports. So the 74 in the hands of Ibrahim Khan, doing what he needs to do to hold on to second place. Then we have Team Rookie Monsters in the 56. They're in third, and they have a gap of about 50 seconds or so as well. So large gaps between our leaders here this afternoon. And then Chris Gonzalez in the 57. He's just been overtaken by Charlie Rigo. So do we have a battle there, or is he in pit lane? Chris Gonzalez. Yeah, he's in pit lane, so that's heavy damage. So that's got to be putting two pieces of the puzzle together. Could that be our culprit for the incident involved with Team RSI, perhaps? So they're undergoing repairs now. Chris Gonzalez behind the wheel. This is all good news for Rory McDuff in the 90 for Hydra Racing. They're moving into position to take up that place. They're on lap 102, so they've got to do another full lap before they can take that position away from Fair Racing Team. But that may have been the two pieces of the puzzle there. Not too sure. As we were going through the order, though, so we've got Rory McDuff. He's in P7 at the moment, about to take P6, or expected to take P6. In GT3, it's Go Team Racing again, with Georgie Nadev in the 97 machine. And Colin Sanders has moved back up as well. So this is what we were saying, that early pit stop that they made for Trax VR Simsports, or Racing rather, has worked wonders. They're back into P2, but the question is, when it comes to the last 20 minutes or so of this race, are they going to have to pit again? You know, are they going to lose all of this ground that they've made? At the moment, it's advantageous to them because they've got this nice open bit of track. No competition around them at the moment. And they're just poddling along. Lap times for them, 1:16.6 that last time by. Whereas our leaders are in 1:15s at the moment. But they're definitely matching racing pace at the moment. Now the other question is, has he actually changed drivers? Because I don't think they have. I think it's been Colin Sanders from the word go. So that's another thing that they've got to watch out for. Otherwise they will be disqualified. Because obviously regulations say that he needs to be in the car for at least 20%, or at least his colleague does. So he's been in the car since the start of this race. He's done 3 stints so far, or 2.5. He will need to concede over to his teammate for at least the last half an hour of this race. So they don't have a choice. Regulation dictates, otherwise they will lose all of the ground that they've made. So I can confirm the incident between Team RSI and Fair Racing Team, that was the two involved. Looks like a bit of a mishmash between some of the GT3s that occurred, and looks like Team RSI got caught up in it. They are out of the running for one of the top positions here this afternoon, unfortunately. This is a shame, considering they were going so strongly. But they're now back out on track, down in P12 at the moment. So that would have been a great comeback for them, because via the standings, of course, the 52 is leading with 50 points. Team RSI are on the board with 40 points themselves. So if they could hold on to that podium position, they would have been talking about taking the lead of the championship going into the 6 Hours of Road Atlanta in January next year. But it looks like those hopes have been shattered, unfortunately. Oh, my apologies, my apologies. So for FRT, Fair Racing Team actually lost it on their own. So I should really read the comments, shouldn't I? I should actually read. That is my job as commentator. But just to confirm, the Fair Racing Team made a mistake on their own accord while lapping some GT3s and went into a wall, causing the damage. And the Team RSI incident was involving car 56. So that is one of the Rookie Monster cars, I believe. Yes, it is. It's the third place Rookie Monster machine for the LMP2s. My apologies. But anyway, back to the race. Just slapped myself on the wrist, like should actually be commentating on the real action. I feel a bit like the BBC. Just give out wrong information everywhere. Just say what I want. Looking at live timing, there's not much going on. We've got a battle starting to emerge between the 73 from Rookie Monsters. That's Simon Marshall behind the wheel. And we've also got Kite Martin defending in the World of Sim Sports, or Sim Racing Team AM. But that's still to come. That's a bit
10
closer.
seconds stop and go penalty for the number 56 for causing a collision.
So there we go. So as we've just mentioned, the 56 caused a collision with the 68. They get a 10-second stop and go penalty as a result. That's going to take them out of those podium positions. One-off Racing is being driven by Charlie Rigo at the moment. He's in pit lane actually. So Charlie Rigo, On-Off Racing, getting some more fuel and tyres by the looks of things for the final dash to the finish. 45 minutes left, which is doable for the LMP2s here. So they don't have to come into the pit lane anymore after this, and they can then sprint to the finish. Back with our leader then, Go Team Racing. Unlapping themselves, or overlapping, one of the LMP2s for the Rookie Monsters. I think that is the 56, I believe. On-Off Racing are still stationary there inside that pit lane, so there's something going on with that car. That's not a normal pit time to spend standing still. Charlie Rigo's still stationary. Things have actually quietened down here at Canadian time for the first time this afternoon. Things are fairly relaxed in terms of on-track battles, at least. I think that's because the grid has thinned out just ever so slightly, perhaps. As Ibrahim Khan is still fighting for second place at the moment. You can start to see the real road coming into effect here as well. Of course, a lot of high-speed cornering going on through turns 2. It's going to start to lay down some rubber, especially off that racing line. So marbles will come into effect. That will cost them time if they decide to run off the racing line, especially for the LMP2s, of course, because that's where they're going to have to do a lot of overtaking, especially on the run down to Moss Corner. Now the question is, going back to the situation with Track VR Racing, it's now 41 minutes left in this race. He needs to come into the pit lane in the next There's 41 minutes left. He needs to come in within the next 5 minutes or thereabouts in order to meet the regulations. It's 20%. 20% driving time is... it's about 35 minutes or so. So he's got to be extremely careful here. I mean, the problem is that now he's in a situation where he's coming up to the end of his stint. He's on 28 laps. So he needs to be able to get into that pit lane on time and concede over to whoever his teammate is. But they're currently sitting in second place. No driver change conducted at this moment in time. And the car behind is the 52. So, of course, that tactic has finally come to a close. They're on the sprint to the finish now with their new driver on board. So expect the 52 to pick up second place in the next 5 minutes or so, by my reading. And then the number 12, which is 360 Motorsports, that's going to be their best result for the season if they can hold on, because they'll be moving up into third place at this rate. Let's see what kind of tactics, driver strategy that they're on. So they've done 41 laps on their first stint. So they're on 14 laps on their final stint. They should make it to the finish. So they could be about to have their best result and come home with a podium finish. Standing wise, they are... let's have a look. Currently sitting 8th place with 20 points on the leaderboard. So this could be a really strong moment for the team if they can secure that position. But it all depends on what Colin Sanders is going to do in the next 5 minutes or so, of course. Oh, there's something information-wise. So there's been a lead change in LMP2. The last final splash and dash from the number 7 has been made. He's now out on track. Timothy Goer now in charge. So he's conceded the position from his teammate. He's on his first lap out now. Seawolf Netrace Motorsport presuming the lead of this race, but they're on their 17th lap of their current stint. So he's starting to get slightly tightly packed here at the front of the grid. So the number 7 will have taken probably about 80% of its fuel capacity with 38 minutes remaining. They can last around 45. Being a high-speed circuit, I would have said that they probably have a bit less time available to them, as On-Off Racing have a massive incident. Charlie Rigo going into the barrier there. Actually, no, he managed to save it just in the nick of time. So using the grass runoff area, he's actually been able to save that. Don't know how that's possible, but he's still going strong. Charlie Rigo in 7th place at the moment. But that would have definitely been a code brown from inside that cockpit for a split second there. So Ibrahim Khan will need to do one more pit stop, probably at around the half an hour to 25 minute mark, and that will allow Go Team Racing back into the lead.
All drivers race control, code 80 in 10 seconds.
And there's another code 80 there.
Code 80 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Code 80 enforced.
So you've got the two Go Team Racing team cars there, side by side. And Go Team Racing come back into pit lane. This is really strange. Don't know what on earth is happening here. But they've come back into pit lane. Have they made a miscalculation? Do they need repairs? Were they involved in that incident? But it's just literally a stop and go. Just an extra bit of fuel being added to that car. That's going to cost them 1 or 2 seconds, but in the grand scheme of things, that is probably the right thing to do while the Code 80 is in effect. Because that's essentially pit lane speed. And I think he's just realised that Code 80 is still in effect. So I don't know what has got into the brain of Timothy Goer, but I think he's pretty much just thrown away the lead of the race for Go Team Racing here. He's just, I think that is a mental block. He's come out of the pit lane, pit limit comes off, back up to racing speed, and it's only as he goes across the brow of turn 2 that he realises that, oh, it's still Code 80. So there's just been a massive breakdown in communications there, internally somewhere, because he's just gone back up to racing speed and then gone, oh, I've made a mistake here, locks up all 4 tyres, and then does a half spin to the right hand side, and then finally puts his pit speed limiter back on. So yeah, I don't know what else I've had to say than that, but always stay switched on.
All drivers, green flag in 10 seconds. Green flag in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Green flag. "10-second stop and go" penalty for Timothy Goer for speeding under Code 80.
And there it is. So without even a few seconds, that's really gonna hurt the team. We're back up to racing speed now, and Timothy Goer having to return to pit lane once more. Of course, he has 3 laps to serve it if he wishes, but that is a 10-second Code 80 stop and go penalty rather for speeding under Code 80 conditions. That's going to allow the 74 back into the fray of this battle then, because they may be about to bring home their second victory this season, and it's all because of a silly mistake like that. Luckily,
all drivers, this is race control. Code 80 in 10 seconds.
Says another code. I think I need to start a betting system with this.
Code 80 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Code 18 forced.
What we can do, ladies and gents, is before each race, before it even goes up to racing, we could have a pot, a jar, where we all place our bets on how many Code 80s there's going to be before the end of the race, and whoever gets closest to that particular number will then win the jar. We need to have something like that for this stream. It's just going to be one of those things throughout the season, I think. But looking at the live timing, I'm not too sure who it was. That's the problem. That's the problem with Race View. The track map doesn't exactly work brilliantly as opposed to live races. And here comes the 74. As predicted, they're going to come in to conduct their last change of this particular race. So it's going to be fuel, splash and dash, and back out again with 30 minutes or just over 30 minutes to go. Now, where are they going to come out in comparison to the number 7? It looks like there's a very slow number 7 car there as well. Has that got damage? It has. So things have just gone from... That's definitely handed the race over to the 74 now. So
20-second stop and hold for number 56 for causing a collision.
So the cause of that collision, I presume, is the 56. Not too sure, but the number 7 now has huge damage on the back of that car. And that's their win gone. There's no way they can recover from that. Number 74 is now firmly in the lead.
Control, green flag in 10 seconds.
What a sad end. What a development.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Green flag.
That is a very bizarre set of circumstances that they find themselves in. So the repairs are going underway for Timothy Goer. He's still in second place at the moment, but the 74, Ibrahim Khan and Seawolf Netrace Motorsport, are now in charge of this race. They are championship leaders by just 3 points. as things stand. Well, that's going to be extended quite significantly if they can hold on for the next half an hour or so. Battles are pretty scarce at the moment, so what the number 11 car has done is extremely clever. Oh, they've just nearly lost control going through turns 5. There's a lot of incidents, last minute incidents occurring here, which is quite worrying. Maybe fatigue starting to set in here at Canadian Tire. But what the 11 car has done is actually very clever. So what they've done is they've waited for the code 80 to come into effect, and they've done their final stop under code 80. So that early pit stop that they made earlier on in this race has dictated when they come into pit lane, and it's now down to his teammate, which is Andrew Parkinson. And Andrew Parkinson just having a big moment there going into the barrier. He doesn't look like he's comfortable in this situation. He's actually being very dangerous in this circumstance. He's now carrying a lot of damage on the far right hand side of that car. And he's definitely not up to racing speed. This is going to end very badly, I think. Yep, and it does. Wow, that's a big one. That is a huge incident. And I don't even know who to blame for that one particularly. I think the 11 had no control from the moment I set eyes on it. Andrew Parkinson, whatever he's on, it's some good stuff. Because going through, doesn't look like to be there was any damage done to the car coming through his turn 8 and 9, but just didn't seem to have any control over that Aston Martin whatsoever. But decided to stay out on pit lane. That's going to be another code 80.
All drivers, this is race control, code 80 in 10 seconds.
He just has no control over that number 11 machine whatsoever. And it looks
code
like...
Code 80 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, code 80.
And I don't think that is lag. That isn't lag. That's him driving that way, because the car is so badly damaged that it's pulling to the left-hand side. That I don't think that was lag induced whatsoever. But we'll
Number 11, please drive to a speed where you can control that car.
So he's having to slow down. Of course, all the cars going around having to try and avoid this. But it looked like he double turned into turn 2 from my perspective. It looks like he was turning in. The car was already carrying damage from his moment in the last corner. It turned in more than expected because the damage to the steering rack, and that caused the accident with that LMP2. That's going to be a massive penalty coming their way, I believe. And even now, he's going in a straight line, but he's still weaving left and right. So that's a huge danger to the rest of the grid here. And, well, we'll let race control decide what they're going to do. But personally, I wouldn't want that car out on track if it's going to be driving in that way. What a sad day. I mean, Colin Sanders has done a lot of work. They were in second place. Really strong result. And it's just in the final moments of this race, with 28 minutes to go, that this has come to a close, and obviously that driver change occurred. So now back into pit lane, and that's going to be a long repair job.
Well, drivers, this is race control. Green flag in 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Green flag.
Now back up to racing speed once more. Please, ladies and gents, no more code 80s. It's getting tiresome. Let's get to the end of this one in one piece. Got 30 cars still going strong. Well, when I say strong, some of them are severely damaged. Timothy Goer coming back into pit lane as well for Go Team Racing. They're all the way down in P7 now. So still experiencing some damage perhaps. But that's another pit lane entry that is not part of their schedule.
Well, drivers, this is race control. Another code 80 in 10 seconds.
So what is happening here, ladies and gents?
Code 18 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Code 18 falls.
I've never seen so many code 80s in my life. This is becoming quite a regular thing. No information as to what happened there, though. So I got the report coming in for the 11 car. So Track VR Racing are saying that they've been hit from behind by the number 80, which is Trujillo GP Motorsports. That's the McLaren that's just in the bottom left of our screen, just went by. And they're saying that that's what's caused them to go into the barrier at speed and caused all of that damage. So that'll be an investigation that needs to take place from race control or by race control. Doesn't seem to be any damage to the McLaren though, so it's a bit strange, but we'll see. We've got several cars. Reading Game Studios in pit lane. The number 11 is in pit lane. RSA Sim Race is in pit lane as well. Still 30 cars running.
Well, drivers, this is race control. Green flag in 10 seconds. Green flag in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Green flag.
And back to racing conditions at last. Maybe this one will last longer than 2 minutes, but we'll see. I mean, usually how's the saying go? Safety cars breed safety cars. But that's why Code 80 was introduced, so that nobody got bunched up and nobody lost any time. So you stayed exactly where you were, just at a safer speed. But it seems to be that Code 80s are breeding Code 80s in some situations, especially here at Mosport. But I'm not too sure as to who the culprit is or what the cause is behind all of this. But I think some of the teams will just be glad when they finally get to the checker flagged here on this one. In second place then, Team Rookie Monsters doing the job they need to do, and they've actually got a 2-3 in the podium positions at the moment. So you've got the 33 and the 56. They're going toe to toe at the moment, although they're not on the same lap as one another. And they're going to be securing those vital points in their championship efforts. The 33 is down in 7th place with 24 points on the board at the moment. The 56 is in 9th place at the moment. So that's going to catapult both the cars up the order if they can survive the next 30 minutes. Or 20 minutes, sorry. And that'll give the team a boost going into Christmas. All of these battles are pretty spread out now, though. There's not really a lot of action going on, unfortunately. 13 seconds, 12 seconds, 50 seconds, 20 seconds. There's not a single battle going on. That could be because of the Code 80s, it could be because of the tactics, but pretty much in the last 20 minutes is splash to the splash and dash. So all sprint mode engaged across the field. As things stand for you, it is still Seawolf Netrace Motorsport that lead the way in LMP2 after that disastrous incident for the number 7 from Go Team Racing. They're all the way down in P7 now. And you've got the 2 Team Rookie Monster cars in 2nd and 3rd at the moment. Go Team Racing still in charge of the GT3 field though. The 97 holding on by at least a lap advantage at the moment. And then we've got the World of Sim Racing Junior car, that's the 52, in second place, and 360 Motorsports in third. Team RSI stabilised in 8th place for the time being. Leonardo still in charge of that Aston Martin. That's another story that they'll soon forget, I believe. One that they want to put behind them. But knowing Team RSI, they'll come back stronger at Road Atlanta next year, that's for sure. Second place car in the championship, Roy McDuff for the number 90 Hydra Racing team. Currently sitting in 5th place. Needs to be a stronger performance if he wants to stay close to that 74. But it will still be a fairly substantial chunk of points that he takes home from here. And that's the 11 car again. So that's Andrew Parkinson. He's retired to pit lane now. So that was on the main drag on Andretti straightaway. I saw him stationary on the side of the road there. Luckily the LMP2s, they were going too wide at the time, weren't collected. So that brings the death toll up to 7, 8 I believe, cars that have retired here this afternoon. So that means there's 29 or 28 cars running here. Canadian Tire really showing its nasty side to some of the teams. Coming into the last 20 minutes here. Well, the 74 is carrying quite a large amount of damage on that car. If you look at the steering rack, pulling to the right hand side slightly, having to steer to the left to counteract the damage. That's quite a severe amount that they're carrying here. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the stream if you're enjoying the action here at WSCC. Of course, it has died down just a tad as we come to the final stages of the race. If you are enjoying the action, don't forget to obviously get informed of the new races coming up next year as well. Formula 3 Championship is opening on the 28th of December with the first round taking place in January. So head over to the website at checkeredflagendurance.com to find out the details so you don't miss out. Also, we're so close to getting 500 subscribers, currently sitting at 487. So if you haven't subscribed yet, help us break over that 500 marker and we can get on our way to 1,000. Back to the race though. Ibrahim Khan's doing everything he needs to do at the moment. Fastest, well, last lap time was a 1:10, so that damage is really impeding the performance of that LMP2, but I doubt he's the only LMP2 car that's carrying damage here, and it's just about coasting to the finish line for the team. I think he's got a 40-second lead over the next car back, but his last lap time was a 1:08, so it'll be extremely tight, but it's not impossible for the Rookie Monster car to catch up to Ibrahim Khan and take the lead of this race. On board with Team Ricky Moss's end, see if they're carrying any damage inside the cockpit of their car. Yep, they are as well. So they're pulling to the left-hand side too. So their last lap time, 1:08, 37 seconds abreast. So they are catching by a rate of around 2 seconds a lap compared to the Seawolf Netrace Motorsport team. 15 minutes remaining. They shouldn't be able to catch up. So if they're gaining by 2 seconds a lap, then the gap should still be 7 seconds by the time they get to the checkered flag. So it's all on the Rookie Monster team to do the work here to catch up in time. They need to find that extra bit of pace if they're going to make this work and claim that crown at Mosport. But it's a tall order. Look inside that cockpit. They're still carrying damage themselves. So yeah, that's going to be a tough one to do. As we approach the final stages of this race, let us know what your favourite part has been. Has there been a part of Canadian Tire you liked? Or maybe if you're one of the drivers here this afternoon, has it been a course you've enjoyed? What have been the challenges presented to you and how have you overcome them? Is Canadian Tire someplace you would like to return to? Or is it to be sent into, or is it to be buried 6 foot under, never to be seen again in the realm of motorsport? It's definitely going to be a controversial one, that's for sure. It's definitely a narrow, fast-paced circuit. You have to be on that optimal racing line to find the pace that you want to catch up to the next competitive car. You know, otherwise you really are at a disadvantage. And I think the casualty rate is even higher than Sebring, so that just gives you a clue as to how challenging it is here. And thank God it's only a 3-hour race and not a 6-hour race, because that would have really changed things, and I think we would have even less cars getting to the finish line if that was the case. According to this though, we still have 30 cars running at the moment. And the gap between the two teams now is 31 seconds as he comes across the timing line. That gap is coming down quite quickly now. And there's not really much going on, so what we're going to do is we're going to drag in one of the drivers. I think it's our first interview for this race. It's Colin Sanders from the number 11 from Track VR Racing. Colin, you did an amazing job. You did an amazing job for the first half of that race, first 2 hours. What on earth happened? Because you were looking strong for at least a podium finish there.
Yeah, we had a 3-pit strategy, and it got a little messed up because of all the code 80s in the beginning, which just lengthened out our pit stop, so our last one was real short. Decided then to do 3 stints for myself, and then Andrew would do the last for his minimum time. On his out lap, he got hit in T9, which damaged him real bad, and then we had connection issues.
Oh wow, so you've had really... It's that 5-minute window where all the bad luck has come at once, and you was looking so strong in that race. So other than that, then putting that aside, let's talk about the good stuff that's happened this afternoon. Track VR, you had a bad week at Sebring, but you've come back really strong for Mosport. How have you found the track and the circuit, and what have you learnt from it going forward into Road Atlanta in 2020?
That strategy is going to be a big part in our game. At Sebring, we just realized we didn't have the pace of the top teams.
For drivers, this is race control, code 80 in 10 seconds.
Code 80? Oh.
Another one, yeah. Oh, go on, keep going.
Yeah. Code 80 in 5.
So
wait for him to finish.
3,
Yes. He likes doing this.
1. Code 18 pause.
It's his favourite thing to do is code 80. There probably isn't anything going on, and he's just like sitting there going, "Yeah, I'm going to call one because it's fun."
Yeah, I'll do another one in the final 10 minutes or whatever.
That's it. Anyway, go on, continue.
So yeah, at Sebring we realized we didn't have the pace, so strategy was going to come into play. Unfortunately,
Drives this race control, green flag in 10 seconds.
He doesn't want to. He knows we're doing this, so that's what it is.
Yeah.
5,
just wait with
4, 3,
Yep.
2, 1, green flag.
Right, Dave, if you're watching the stream, we're trying to have a conversation here. Just let us have it. No more code 80s. I don't care if the whole field's on fire. Just let us finish this interview. Anyway, so go on. You were saying you don't have the pace at Sebring.
So yeah, we had tried strategy, but we got caught in that T1 incident real bad. Put us way down, a couple laps down. We tried to fight back, but unfortunately my teammate had a less pace than me, so we just put our heads down, tried finishing the race, which we end up finishing, getting the 1 point at the 3-hour mark. So we came into this race thinking, okay, we know tire wear is going to be a problem, so let's try to find where the tires drop off and just go for as long as we can at as fast pace. So I was doing 115s at the beginning of my stints, dropping down to like consistent 116.5s, which I believe was the fastest pace of the field. Then we just had 3 pit stops, but less fuel in the car, dropped our pit stop times, and we got real lucky with our last pit stop with code 80 when we came in, but then we had all the issues that Andrew unfortunately had to bear witness to.
Yeah, because we were saying on the stream that this is going to be a bad thing because they're going to have to pit one more time compared to the rest of the GT field. Then came the code 80. I was like, oh wow, they've really worked this out well. And it's actually fallen right in their hands. But then, as you say, all that bad luck came along. So it's Canadian Tire. It's the end of 2019 now, and Road Atlanta's next. It's a similar track. It's fast-paced. It's narrow, and it's going to be 6 hours as opposed to 3 hours. Are you going to feel, what lessons can you take from Mosport going forward to Canadian Tire, and do you think you can come home strong there as well?
Well, we're going to plan for at least the top 10 gets in the points. Podium, Road Atlanta, we're a little bit weaker on. So we'll have to see with testing. We got now a month of testing to do. So it should help us a lot. Hopefully we can come up with another great strategy. Get in some practice sessions with a lot more P2 drivers on course so we know where they're going to be passing and plan accordingly.
Well, thanks for popping in to chat with us. It's been the only interview of the day due to all the carnage that's unfolding, but better luck for next time, and fingers crossed we'll see you at Road Atlanta 6 hours.
Yeah, you'll definitely see us. Thank you.
All right, take care, bud, and Merry Christmas as well.
You too.
So that was Colin Sanders one of the drivers that we saw for Track VR Racing, and you know, as we just heard, unfortunate turn of events with his teammate coming out of their last and final pit stop. We're on board. We're on with this race in the LMP2 class battle for P5. Charlie Rigo and Rory McDuff here. Both of these LMP2s going for it tooth and nail in the final stages of this race. Last 5 minutes here on the board available. And this is going to be one that goes down to the wire, I believe. Team RSI just ahead in their Aston Martin. And coming through the apex of turn 1, Roy McDuff opting for that outside line. Brave stuff there. And On-Off Racing opt for the opposite side. So, bit of 3-wide action going on there for the LMP2s. And you've also got someone else behind as well. Don't know if that's for position. No, it's not. So it's one of the rookie monster cars. And that's not for position going through the apex of turn 3 there. Roy McDuff then is doing everything he needs to do to defend this position. Goes through Moss Corner with ease. It's all about that exit speed though, coming on to Andretti straight away. On-Off Racing within the slipstream. Not close enough this time by though, as he holds on to that position for the timing. Oh, he's made a big mistake going for the apex of turn 8. Goes onto the curbing, unsettles that LMP2 car, but luckily, don't know how he did it, but he managed to wrestle back control and stay in position. Now the LMP2 car behind, I believe, is the 33. I'm not too sure. Let me just confirm that. No, it's not. So that's a bit strange. Why that LMP2 car is so eager to get by, I have no idea. But it's interfering with this track battle for position. Of course, the regulations say if you're battling for position when a blue flag is out, then you have at least one lap to make that overtake before you have to concede to the car causing Z blue flag. So coming down into Moss Corner once more, of course, Turk Hakkinen, bit of a tank slapper there, coming in sideways. Sorry, Rory McDuff rather. And this is a lot closer now. On-Off Racing in the slipstream. Coming up behind Hydro Racing as he comes up to turn 8. Side by side they go. This is what we've been saying. The outside line is better, but not in the hands of Roy McDuff. He holds on perfectly to that racing line and doesn't allow anyone to go through. Bit wide there on the exit of turn 9, and that's allowed On-Off Racing to come up alongside the exit of White Corner. On across the start-finish line they go. 3.5 minutes still left, but still retaining that position nicely. Now we've got the Team Rookie Monster car in between the two of them. Flashing his headlights, he's very impatient trying to get by as best he can. And the cars are going so quick I can't even tell what position that is for, but that's not involved in this race, I don't believe. No, it's not. So that Team Rookie Monster car is either a lap ahead or a lap down. I can't tell which. There's too many of the damn things going around, you see. But Charlie Rigo still in the slipstream there. Sim Racing GT3 gets out of the way very nicely. And Roy McDuff still struggling to hang on to that LMP2. So he's obviously struggling from worn tyres there. The LMP2 from Team Rookie Monsters goes through nicely. Bit of contact there from the two of them as they try to get past the 360 Motorsport. Or no, it's the GRG Esports. Oh, it's 3 wide through turn 1. Brave stuff from the LMP2 cars as they try to find that bit of track space. And Rory McDuff gets pushed wide there. No contact made, but just seems to lack the grip at this stage of the race. That means that On-Off Racing move up into P4. Roy McDuff is sliding all over the place. Clearly has no grip whatsoever in those rear tyres. Still has the slipstream though, but this is good news for Charlie Rigo because he will tuck in nicely behind that Team Rookie Monster LMP2 and that will propel him away from Roy McDuff in the Hydro Racing machine. Going through through the corners. Roy McDuff is really struggling. I don't think he's going to be able to come back from this one. In the last minute of this race, minute and a half of this race, ladies and gents. Going over to Ibrahim Khan, Seawolf Netrace Motorsport, they have done everything they could have done. They had a bit of a wobbly start here at Mosport, but what a way to come back. Number 7 from Go Team Racing, they made a huge mistake and of course got carried away, or at least involved in that accident on their last pit stop, and that threw away that race for them. They're going to come home in P6, but Ibrahim Khan now is going to do one final lap after this before coming home victorious once more for Seawolf Netrace Motorsports. They did it at Sebring after a strong recovery drive, and they've done it here again at Mosport as well. So of course it isn't the end of the race, anything can happen in a minute and 5 seconds. But it looks fairly certain at this point. All Fair Racing have made a miscalculation for their efforts, because they've come back into the pit lane for one final time. Let's quickly change back to Rory McDuff. Yeah, that gap between Tim and Charlie Rieger has extended significantly. There's no way that he's going to be able to come back from that one, unfortunately. Obviously got the orange tint from the sunset here at Mosport. Of course, won't go into night time, but just the evening of this part of the world. We are now officially into overtime here at round 2 of the World Sports Car Challenge. Navigating the final few corners here for Ibrahim Khan, comes across the start-finish line victorious for the second time this season. Seawolf Netrace Motorsports come home in the lead for LMP2, and close behind it's going to be a good result for Team Rookie Monsters, as the 33 and the 56 come home in second and third respectively. GT3's coming across the line as well, with Jorni Nadev in charge of the GT3 field from start to finish for Go Team Racing. Their Aston Martin efforts, unchallenged and unopposed, will take victory here at Mosport Park. And close behind is the 52 from World of Sim Racing. And then Simco Endurance Team, they had a bad day, or a bad time at Sebring, but that has all been forgiven with this third place finish here this afternoon. Gracious effort from 360 Motorsport in the number 12. They've come home 4th place, but it wasn't enough to secure a podium position. What a race, ladies and gents. That is what you want to see. And it's going to be the end of 2019 from us here at CFEG as well. The WSCC will take a month break before returning, where we will visit the circuit of Road Atlanta for a 6-hour race. All I can say is that it's been one hell of a year for CFEG, and thank you all for taking part in the first 2 rounds, and I hope that they all stick around for 2020 as well. Don't forget that we've got the Formula 3 series opening up on the 28th of December. You can find all the details on the website. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel as well to help us get more exposure for you guys, your teams, everything going forward into next year. And all that's left to say now is, from CFEG in 2019, it's goodbye and have a good Christmas and New Year. Take care out there.